Shaka Khan. We are back with another episode of the Average J's with J and J. So it is a sunny, beautiful, dark nighttime of October 10th, and this is Jay Justin Ruiz.
And this is Jay, Jeremy Francois.
So today we're gonna come at you with some. It's a mixed bag. There's a lot of. I feel like we have good topics, of course, like always, but it's definitely. I think we're covering a lot today. We're covering a lot of different
Yeah,
things.
it's like a star system of stuff. It's not.
Yeah, we got yeah. It's a constellation. So
Yeah,
we're
that's the word.
bopping from point to point. It'll make an image at the end, but we're definitely going from point to point.
It's like if you were to draw the picture of Star Trek's Enterprise traveling through
Hmm.
space. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how many seasons. Maybe we could the entire franchise.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure it created a picture. But yes, that's what we're doing today. That's what we're doing today.
So moving on to our very first topic here, Jay, you told me, well, and the rest of the internet and the world knows, but there was a very special restaurant that opened not too long ago.
Yeah, and it's not Mickey D's spaghetti. It's called Mom Spaghetti. No, but it's crazy because it it came up a while back, and then
Hmm.
I'm surprised we didn't like talk about it. But I was just like, oh wait, like this needs to be spoken of. Like
It happened.
it needs to like. I wish I had a mic. What do you call it? Those round things that you put your voice.
Speaker.
Oh, it's not a speaker.
Oh, a megaphone?
Yes, a megaphone. I thought it started with a Y for a reason, but yes, a megaphone. And that you should be in the mountains yelling like Eminem has a restaurant called Mom Spaghetti, in his hometown of Detroit, which is dope. That's really cool.
It's crazy that this is real and it exists. All the
And
memes about mom's
yeah,
spaghetti is finally like it's
yes,
real.
it's a real thing, and you have to know this. But for those who don't know, it's a popular lyric in the song, or I don't want to say song, but the track "Lose Yourself," and it
Knees weak, arms are
also.
heavy, vomit on his sweater already. Mom spaghetti, I'm nervous. Yeah, there you go. You're welcome, internet.
You know what we should do? We should just like put a soundbite of that over you, so it sounds like you're the one mimicking Eminem's voice. But then I
Mm.
think YouTube will not like that, and
Mm-mm.
they will
I
just
have to imagine there's some sort of content that we'll be breaching, but
yeah.
it's fine.
This is all for entertainment, YouTube and YouTube bots.
This is this is parody.
This is parody and purely educational. But
Mm.
yeah, and also it was featured in 8 Mile, which also you got
Mm-hmm.
to know that you got to have Eminem. You can't say Eminem without saying 8 Mile, like you know what I mean.
Very
But
true.
I want to go there one day. I really want to go there.
To 8 Mile or to
No,
Mom
I
Spaghetti?
mean to Mom Spaghetti.
Mm-hmm.
I want to like read out the menu because it's
Yes, please. I know it's an eclectic menu with
yeah,
influences around the world.
and it's not that many. But look, it's you got spaghetti, spaghetti with meatballs,
Sick.
spaghetti with vegan meatballs,
Mm.
and spaghetti
That's forward. That's forward thinking. What
that
was
is
that last one?
spaghetti sandwich, a sandwich.
I thought you said a spaghetti smoothie, and I was like, that sounds disgusting. But spaghetti sandwich honestly
Yeah, that
doesn't
would be
sound
good.
that much better.
No, I think you know what's funny because earlier I just had dinner and I was thinking I had like my garlic bread and I was thinking of putting
Mm.
my pasta on it and just eating it. All I needed was another garlic bread to put on top, so it's not that bad if you think about it.
I guess you know what it is. I'm thinking of just straight up like Wonder Bread, like
Yeah,
white
don't
bread.
think that basic. I'm pretty sure
If
it's like
it's garlic bread
some
and
sort.
it's like
Yeah,
they figure out how to contain the spaghetti form there without it like dripping all over the
yeah,
place, I think I could get on board with that.
yeah. And I didn't go too much into it from like the what I've seen on the internet. The when it comes to the
Mhm.
drinks, it's fountain drinks, something similar.
Yeah, it was just like
So it's
soda.
like pop and pop cola, something, and then
Yeah.
water. But what's really dope, and I'm pretty sure I don't know how like people knew about it or whatever, but like in the opening day, Eminem showed up and he was like taking people's orders and
Yeah, he was the one. He was serving people through. Because just FYI for everyone, it was a walk up restaurant. Like you just walked up, ordered through a window, and they gave it to you. And on the first day, Eminem was there taking the orders and giving them out.
it's like I wish I can go back in time, through with the DeLorean and just be like, I want to go there and be like, oh, Eminem, I know you're here, and we could just talk, and I'd be like, yo, just serenade me with your words, just put me to sleep. But yeah, th- th- this was dope. That was really cool. Do we hear that?
Oh, okay. I thought. D- did everything look good on your end?
I think he froze, but then
Oh, okay, cool. Because I think so too. I guess we'll figure it out in the render when later on.
yeah, we can always pop this up. Cut two.
but yeah, but Yeah, but for those listening, it looks like we might have had some technical difficulties. I hope we don't. But yeah, Jay was just saying that he wanted to go back in time with a DeLorean and feast upon Eminem's mom's spaghetti.
And his words.
Hmm.
He would just drop knowledge. I know he would make me so much smarter because I know
We should have just went. We should have figured it out. We should have went and been like, "Hey, come on our podcast. It'll be super cool." And he would have been
it's
like, "You know what,
already
guys?
yeah.
Hell yeah."
If not, if he couldn't because of his schedule, we just take like a soundbite of him saying, "Yo, the two J's are the greatest and most super famous podcasts in the world," and
He would have did it.
yeah, he would have. And then that would be on my ringtone every time someone called me. I'm like, yeah,
It's just Eminem saying, "Hey, J and J are the are the coolest, most famous podcasters ever."
it reminds me of when we used to watch a regular show, her ringtone. Like that would
Mhm.
be my thing. That would be it.
I like that.
I'm with it.
Okay, so I guess switching from fun music related news to, it's not sad. I mean, it's a little deeper, it's a little heavier of a topic, but it's overall kind of like a good thing. Not even kind of, it is a good thing.
It is.
Um, so moving on. So R. Kelly, right? He was found guilty on counts of racketeering as well as trafficking, I believe.
Yeah.
He's facing from 10 years to life in prison, which is good because he did some very terrible things with a lot of underage women, and long story short, he basically kept women like hostage in his house for years at a time. Uh, so in news related to that, his YouTube channel was actually pulled. It was actually pulled down, and it's kind of sucks, but I understand. Like it's in the forefront of everyone's mind. Like his streaming numbers
Yeah.
skyrocketed
Yeah.
right after that. It's you know however which way you feel, clearly we're against what he did, and we're happy that justice is being served. Did it take a really long time? Unfortunately,
Yeah.
yes. um, but on top of that, the fact that people just kind of like flocked to his music right after all this, it's kind of messed up. It's kind of sad to see
Yeah.
that, like, you hear about these terrible things, and it's been going on for so long at this point. We finally get a conviction, and it goes public, and then immediately everyone jumps on to go see his stuff. Like, I don't know, I don't get that. That, to me, that doesn't sit right.
I agree with you, but then if you like sit and think about it, like the way I see it is like when all that happened, even when the documentary, and I forget how many years ago it came out, like it was scary to like I documentaries to me, like I can watch documentaries, but when it comes to something evil or creepy, like serial
Mhm.
killers or someone like sex
Stuff that's
trafficking,
like real,
yeah,
yeah.
that's real and scary. I can't sit and watch the entire thing, but I can watch documentaries about other things. But that's enough about
Hmm.
me. But the thing about that, I couldn't say some of those people that like people are our age that I want to say used to listen to R. Kelly because it was more like in the background. Some of the
Yeah,
lyrics were, I'm not gonna lie, they were popping. Like you listen to it, but like when you're, I think for most people that now when you hear about R. Kelly, you're like people our age are like nostalgic, but they're like, wait, those lyrics are what? They want to maybe some of them are probably dissecting the lyrics and they're
yeah.
like, whoa, that's what we're listening to. But then there are other people that are just listening to it because they're trying to get on that hype train and boost
Yeah.
them streaming the streaming count. But like if it were me, I didn't go back and listen to it, like go through his music. But we used to joke and like whatever the lyrics we used to say back in school, and then you're thinking about it like, no, you shouldn't be saying that because that's what he did, and it's not funny anymore. Um,
Yeah, it's I think it's one of those things where people try to separate the art from the artist,
mhm, mhm,
and it's extremely hard because you enjoy things that this person has made. Like, I mean, no one's gonna lie, Remix to Ignition was an amazing song,
yeah,
and it continued to be an awesome song for a very, very long time.
mhm,
And now for me at least, like, it actually, I was in the car and it came up on, I was like listening to Spotify or Pandora or something.
yeah,
It came up and I just didn't feel good listening to it because you know I know what the artist has done, and
mhm,
I followed it pretty, not like super close, but I followed the trajectory of this court case. And it kind of made me feel weird that I was listening to it, so I skipped it.
yeah,
It's just, for me personally, I know that I don't, or I can't, like, physically I can't, like, support someone that I know is doing like or has done like some serious stuff. You
yeah.
know, it
Like,
sucks because,
yeah.
again, like, he created some things that were fun and good, but then it gets sullied because of how he was.
And I know you would agree with this too. And people that really love Space Jam, like I Believe I Can Fly, like to me, that's tied to Jordan
Yeah,
dunking. Like every time I hear that song, that's what I think. But then you take it a step further, and you're like, damn, he created this. But then at the same time, and it's like
hmm
you mentioned separating the artist from the art. I'm always gonna love I Believe I Can Fly because of
yeah,
Space Jam. Um, if it comes up on the radio, it's gonna sting a little, like, damn, this dude did this. But I'm like, nah,
yeah,
that this was my thing. Growing up, I didn't really listen to R. Kelly like that. Like it
uh,
came up and people listened to it. And as kids being impressionable, like we say all the lyrics, and this is not just R. Kelly. Like when it comes to like raunchy lyrics, growing up, we would say these lyrics, especially if they're the radio edits, but we knew the real
yeah.
lyrics. Then you go back and be like, wow, we were fucking, oh, sorry, curse, but you can probably beat that out. We were babies listening to these lyrics, and then we're sitting out like, wow, like they actually said this, and our guardians, our parents let us listen to this, or we secretly listen to these things. But yeah, like I feel you. And every time I hear about R. Kelly, if I hear about R. Kelly, I think of Space Jam because it's like that holds a
Yeah, that's
special
your
place. Yeah,
connection.
that
Yeah.
holds a special place in my heart. And then I'm just like, but it doesn't diminish the movie. Like it doesn't make me go like if I were to go watch it, I won't be like, oh, I don't care.
Yeah.
I won't skip over it.
Yeah,
But
because
yeah,
I think it's like, in that specific case, it's like it's something bigger that, like, it's not from him. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, it just so happens that he sings the song that's in that movie. You know,
exactly. Yeah,
so it's hard. Like, going back to the separating the art from the artist, it's hard. It's hard to do that. R. Kelly isn't the first famous person to do something messed up and go to jail for it.
true,
Um,
true.
or to conduct themselves in a very questionable way. And for him, it was a very serious thing that he did for many, many years, and basically got away with it up until now. So it's just rough, because fond memories are attached to certain pieces of media, right? Like, whether it be music, movies, whatever it is. And then, when you go back, hindsight's always 2020, right? Like, once you
Yeah,
find out about the bad stuff and you go backwards, you kind of like, oh man, like, how did we not catch this before, or why did we allow this to continue to happen?
yeah,
It was kind of like the same stuff with Harvey Weinstein, right? Like,
mm,
after he got all these women that came forward, then we started seeing resurfaced, like, clips and stuff of people making comments about how he was.
yeah,
And we're talking about like early 2000s, and people are like, why did we just let this fly by? Like, why did no one look into this when so and so said this? Or why didn't so and so make this a bigger deal to, like, come forward and, like, really
Yeah, yeah, and it has a lot to
and
do
really
with,
pursue it.
yeah, it has a lot to do with the male patriarchy too. Like,
Yeah.
I'll go and say it. Like, when you said it with other mediums as well, the first thing that popped up was Bill Cosby. Because
Yeah.
growing up, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon before my at Saturday weekday cartoons, I'd watch Bill Cosby. That was my show, and all the stuff that comes now in our modern time. And then you look back, like even my fiance would start watching it on Amazon Prime, but I'd sit there and watch it, and it's just like I'm still sitting there like, how can this? And I'm thinking of the character Dr.
Yeah.
Huxtable. Like, how can you, the character we fell in love with, do this? You know?
Yeah, and that's what sucks, man, because you think about like specifically Bill Cosby,
Yeah.
like the Cosby Show was a
A
cultural
family, no, a
phenomenon.
family show. Yes.
Yeah, it was a family show, but it also like made people's careers. It was a platform for like black and African American people to see themselves portrayed in a normalized way and
Yeah.
not like anything like super almost
What's the word?
like a
Stereotype.
caricature.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like a stereotype.
Yeah.
Like it was a very normalized black family doing their thing. The parents are successful. It was a slice of life, like them raising their family and helping them out. And that had to have inspired hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that watched it throughout generations. And then, you know, it comes to light that he was not a good person, and then you look back on it and it's like, damn, man, like you couldn't uphold the ideals that you were giving us, right? So it's almost like a
Yeah.
hypocrisy,
Exactly.
because it's like we look at this and we're like inspired and we like it and we're happy that it exists, and then we found out the man behind the mask is a terrible human being.
Yeah.
It's very
And
conflicting.
yeah, it is very conflicting. And kind of going back to the theme of our past episodes, it's accountability.
Hmm.
It's long time. Dude is old. Everyone's getting caught later in time. But hopefully, if things were to happen like this again, history always repeats itself in different shapes or forms. Hopefully, the accountability comes sooner than later, um,
Yeah.
especially with people of color. Because going back to the topic of this was R. Kelly, like especially when it was let's say R. Kelly was doing this to a young white girl, quick, quick, he would have been in jail, no questions asked. But the fact that it took this long to get this guy is it just kind of changes the top. This kind of meanders away from the actual topic at hand. But it
But no, I mean, there's something to be said about that,
yeah.
unfortunately, right? Like, I mean, again, kind of like a different segue, but the missing person, Gabby,
Oh yes.
I'm
I
blanking on
forget.
her last
Yeah.
name, but yeah, young white woman, she went missing, and her boyfriend or fiance ended up coming back from the vacation, and then he disappeared a
That's
couple
very,
days later. So what's upsetting is like, and I had this conversation with my wife, and when these things happen, it's always bad. No matter who it happens to, it's bad. It's a terrible thing, and we should employ resources to help find these people and to solve these crimes. This is
mm,
what it is. It's a crime. But for whatever reason, the media tends to give the hype, like, to specific things that happen. So Gabby being a cute young white woman who went missing, right? It's been everywhere,
yeah.
everywhere. And I know that they had just I don't know, I don't remember if they confirmed it, but they had found a body not too long
Yes.
ago,
Yes.
and they're still looking for the boyfriend. I know he's still like out there,
Yeah.
but like the FBI got involved, and there was so many channels that were
Yeah.
involved,
They
and
were
the
high
news
up.
coverage, and like social media was blasting it everywhere, and that's totally okay. But what bothers me is like, those resources aren't given to other people,
Yeah.
especially people of color.
Yeah.
Like there was a mother that had reached out on, it was on a news channel, and she had like gone on record saying that her son had gone missing within the same time frame as Gabby,
Mm,
and she's upset because nobody's talking about it.
yeah.
Nobody's spending weeks and months searching. There's no crazy news coverage. There's no celebrities getting involved. Like, why her? Again, it's a very sad thing, and we should be looking for everyone. I mean, and we should be trying to solve every crime. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But it sucks that the media tends to focus on the ratings of it all, right? Like,
Mhm.
and they kind of paint this picture of like, oh, she was young and cute, so it's sadder that she's missing, and it's
Yeah,
technically not. It's a
yeah.
sad thing all the way around.
That's to me that just literally sounds like silent racism. That's
Yeah.
all that is.
Mm-hmm.
That's
It's
all that is.
systematic.
It
You know,
kind of
it's
reminds me. I watched the SNL of last week's episode, not last night's. Yeah, last week's episode.
yeah.
I don't want to butcher the whole skit, but the skit was it was the weekend update, and they
Hmm.
say, "Oh, here's a missing black lady from 20 years ago," and she comes in, and she says, "You know what? Like, here's her before and after, like when I went missing." And she's like a pretty white girl, whatever.
Yeah.
You want to know what they did for me? Yo, she looked like the girl from Us, or Lupita Nyong'o's character, but the bad version of her,
Yeah.
yeah, with no like nappy hair, but just horrible looking. And it's just like they would do that. They would. The media would do something like that. And she goes, I don't want to like go through the whole skit, but she goes through the whole skit at the end of it, and he's like, "Yeah, you didn't even ask me my name." And then you see Collins like, "Oh, what's your name?" And then that ends the skit. But it's literally the everything. It's obviously super dramatic, but it's super close to the truth. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, they're like, "Oh, white girls on the front page." New York Times, and he's like, "I'm on page C1 or C17
Yeah.
next to the like the funeral ads or whatever." It's just like weird. Like it was funny, but it does
But
remind
it's
me of that.
true. It's comedy. It's meant to be a social commentary on what's going on, right? It's true. It's not like it has that grain of truth in it, and it sucks, but it's real. Like it's there. Like unfortunately, like whenever there's a minority that is in trouble with the law or with some sort of law enforcement system, right? What's the picture that they show? Them doing something bad, you
Yeah,
know? Like it's not they're not showing the graduation photo,
yeah,
and it's like when a white kid does something crazy, what are they showing? The
crazy.
nice school photo of him looking nice,
Yeah,
right? So
yep,
it's that systematic kind of silent racism you were talking about where, and I don't think it's any one person or anything like that. It's the media.
yeah,
The
yeah,
media is playing up what people want to see.
yeah, exactly.
And it's all for ratings, and unfortunately it's like our news system and our news programming and all that, and that's why independent news is like always in the back burner, like being the unbiased thing. But the way news works in this country is like it's all rating driven, right? They're just trying to get more money
Yeah,
instead of truly reporting news.
it really, yeah, it really does. Like, especially for what we listen to here in America, specifically speaking. But
Yeah.
yeah, and like kind of like moving on, like you talked about ratings. Um, Game of Thrones. Remember when that gave us that had a lot of ratings at one point in time? It
Yeah. So I'm not gonna lie to you. That was a crazy harsh segue.
it was a harsh struggle, right?
But yeah, no, I mean, keeping on the thing with ratings, yeah, from news ratings to TV ratings,
The
right?
TV ratings,
So we
yes,
went, yeah, Game of Thrones used to be the hot ticket.
yeah.
It was the thing everyone talked about until the end.
Until the end, they were like, "Eh."
Yeah, which I still like. I still
Give,
don't
give me
get.
give me what grinds your gears about the end.
So yeah, what grinds my gears, right, is first off, I didn't see any issue with the like super dark episode that everyone was like bitching about.
I think it was people's TVs.
Is yeah, like I don't know what to tell you. I had a decent enough TV to watch it, and it didn't mess up for me. Like I saw the episode. I saw nothing wrong with it.
You're probably there
Anyway,
like, yo, just upgrade your tube TV to 4K.
not even like just
Not even.
fix the white balance, bro. Like why
Yeah,
you keep
it's
it on
literally going to
factory
your set. Yeah,
settings?
literally going to your
You
set.
watching Game of Thrones and your TV's on factory settings? That's your problem. It doesn't sound like that's my problem whatsoever. That sounds
Or
like it's a
HBO's
you
problem.
thing. Yeah. So, but beyond that, the ending, right? I love the ending. The ending I thought was fantastic. And what grinds my gears about it all is that people are like upset. Like, well, we're talking about something that's like what, 2, 3 years old now, but
Probably, yeah.
viscerally like upset at the last season and at the ending.
Mm.
And I was like, this makes so much sense. Like to me, it made
I
the most
100% agree
sense.
with you. I just feel like me personally, I agree with everything you're saying. I just felt like it was a little lukewarm. Like I didn't think it was bad. I everything should have happened. I feel like I'm gonna say spoilers, but you should have seen it already. Anyway,
Yeah, it's been
Jon
a while, but
Snow,
yeah, spoilers.
John Jon Snow rise off to the north. I would have loved him to just get on a dragon and just ride away. Like, something give me I don't know. I'm exaggerating, but yeah, he didn't want he stuck with what he said. He didn't want to be king. And I got it. Back in like season 3 or 4, I was like, yeah, I want him to be king. But he was like, no, I don't want it. He didn't want it. I was like, cool, cool dude. He got what he wanted. He's like, I'm gonna go to the north. Freaking um Sansa and her kingdom, or is it kingdom? Fiefdom?
Yeah,
Whatever.
she has the North.
Yeah. Or they call it the fake north over there.
Yep.
Because the north is beyond the wall, but the wall was taken down. Also spoilers. um Seceded from the kingdom, the seven kingdoms.
Yeah.
Which, okay, makes sense because she's like big boss. Um Arya, I wish I knew what she was doing. They should. Okay, so the reason we're talking about Game of Thrones, let's just take it back a little bit, because the prequel House of Dragons is being,
Yeah, the trailer dropped.
yeah, the trailer dropped. I watched it. Don't know what's happening. I know it's about the Targaryen family 300 years ago. Um,
Like it was cool,
yeah,
but like
I think people that didn't, and a lot of majority, as you said, a majority of people didn't like Game of Thrones ending. So what makes you think they're gonna go back
yeah,
to
and
watch
it's like
the prequel?
and in the trailer, I don't know if you caught it. They played up the whole like before there was this. Like it was
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
really playing up like this is a prequel. Like this has nothing to do with what you saw. It's completely different. It's a whole new ride. Like that's what it felt like.
And you know
You
what's
know?
crazy? And I would love to stay in the topic of the House of Dragon, but I don't know much about what's going to be, because I know a lot of fans that read the book. Because this is obviously, it has a
Yeah.
lot of what do you call it?
Like content.
Material, yeah, content.
Yeah.
People that probably are fans of it will go watch this, but then I remember seeing a tweet or something like that. He's like, "You can't screw this up. The material's there. It's not like the end of Game of Thrones where you
Yeah,
only
it's not
knew
like you
the ending."
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my thing about prequels though is that certain prequels work. Like, you got Monsters University, cool, right? But this one still to me is like the dragon family still falls like 300 years later.
Yeah,
Like,
like we know what happens. So it's one of the things where like I don't know if it'll have the same magic, right? Like
exactly.
when you talk about prequels, it's really hard and sequels, it's
Yes.
really hard to capture what was cool about the original idea again.
Yeah.
To me, it comes up The Hobbit. The
Mhm.
Hobbit was trash compared to the Lord
Oh,
of the
we're
Rings
talking about
trilogy.
we're talking about the franchise, the movie
Yeah,
franchise.
the movies, the
Okay.
movies. The Hobbit book is way better than the Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
books, but the movie franchise of Lord of the Rings, right? The original Lord of the Rings trilogy, way better than the Hobbit prequels,
Yeah.
100%. And
I've
it's
heard that.
from
Especially
the freak.
the last Hobbit.
I didn't even see the last Hobbit
Oh,
movie.
yeesh.
I saw the first one, and then I saw half of the second one, and that was it.
Yee.
The they shouldn't have done at most they could have done 2 movies. They shouldn't have made it into 3.
I've heard
And yeah, it was just everything was so long about it and like really dragged on, and it just was, I don't know, it just didn't have it. It didn't have the magic that Lord of the Rings had. Like you can physically like it's something that you can almost taste. Like you could see it, you can hear it. Like when you watch Fellowship, right?
that. Yeah.
You're kind of on this journey. When you watch Hobbit, you're like, okay, like what's special about this? It's very much so like it's copy and pasting, and yeah, like graphics are better, production quality is better because of the time gap, right?
Yeah.
But it's just it's not right. I don't know. And with Game of Thrones, I feel like it'll fall into that same thing of like one you're only gonna really get diehard fans that are gonna want to
Yeah.
watch the history of people that weren't even in the original show. Like they were mentioned a couple of times, as the House of Targaryen and like all the crazy stuff that happened with them, but there was no real link to them besides Daenerys, right?
Then
And
yep.
that was it. Like, so you're only gonna get hardcore fans, and then it, those hardcore fans, a percentage of them, if they probably read the books and know how it's gonna go. So I don't know what they're hoping to accomplish. I mean, if it's super cool and the production's
Yeah.
great, then like, yeah, for sure, I'll give it a chance. But it
Yeah.
also it
Yeah. Go ahead.
no, sorry, I was gonna say it kind of strikes me like Better Call Saul.
Yes.
Also,
Yes.
it's like that has its legs and it's been going because of the cult fan base that it has. But it was a spinoff from Breaking Bad, and I saw the first episode of Better Call Saul when it like aired live, and I was just like, eh. Like but especially talking about like something like Breaking Bad, the story was so magnificently told from front to end, and it was such a good capsule that I felt like it didn't need more. So when I was watching Better Call Saul and it being
A
both a
prequel.
prequel and a sequel,
Oh,
because
really?
there's
I didn't know.
yeah, so basically it kind of like it takes place in flashbacks, and again I've only seen the first episode and maybe like one or two throughout, so I don't know the entire thing.
Yeah.
But from the first episode it takes place after the events of Breaking Bad, and Saul is basically like he's in the witness protection program, he's like started a whole new life, and he's like working at a Cinnabon. And
Yeah,
then
because I remember watching season one. Oh, season one it is a prequel, but then I didn't know later on it goes back to the future.
so like it's like
Yeah.
kind of like he's
Thinking it
reminiscing
got it.
on what happened. So it's kind of like it flashes back and forth, but like the main meat of the story is the flashbacks. It's the prequel.
That makes sense.
But so it's I just don't think I don't think it's gonna break anyone's minds. It might be cool, but it's the same feeling I have with Matrix that we spoke about a couple weeks
Yeah,
ago.
yeah,
It's like why? Like what is happening here?
yeah. I think it's one of those things like, I hate that they do this to us. You get out and they pull you back in. Um, I'm still gonna watch the first episode and
Yeah,
see what it's about. They got that Game of Thrones money. Their production's gonna be great. Because to be honest, the one thing I love about Game of Thrones was season one. Even though it wasn't that high production value, it still had that mysticism. Like they talked about dragons. Mad dragons were dead, and you saw the freaking ice the night the was it the night wow the night walkers
yeah,
whatever
I think
those
so.
ice monsters, those zombies, like you got a little taste, got a
And
little
that
taste.
what, that's the one thing I didn't enjoy about the last season, right? Like we had the White Walkers, that's what they were
Yes,
called.
White Walkers, thank you.
We had like freaking 9 years of hype, and when we first saw them in season one, and you see the Night King, and then you see
Oh,
like
that
the
was it, right?
massive horde,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's like, oh, like they're about to do some crazy stuff, and then like they finally get to the end where like they've invaded and they're here,
Yeah,
and it's just like
is
my
that
man
when
gets taken out in a freaking instant. Like he had all of, I mean, clearly it wasn't like 5 minutes of screen time, but he gets taken out so quick.
yeah,
Arya just freaking Batman's
yeah,
him, like comes from the
yeah.
shadows down
Yes.
and just
Just
she
like
just goes, "I'm Batman," and then stabs him and done. So
sword of
quick.
me.
Yeah, and it was just like
But
that's
with
the
her
one
Arya
thing that I was a
voice.
little upset because we
Well, it's
had that
me.
build up from season one.
That is true. Like yeah, like there are certain things I would have done. Like I said, the ending to me was, like I said, was lukewarm, but
Perfect.
it made sense to me. Like Jon Snow, I forget what season it was. Jon Snow fought him. No, Jon Snow fought one of the generals. Didn't fight the Night King himself. Fought one of the generals. It was a
Yeah, it was a fight.
he was gonna die. And I forget how he survived. There was some sort of incident in the environment that kind of saved him. I would have loved Jon Snow to come out and come up against him. Obviously, he was not. It was going to be a one sided fight, but I would have loved to see that because to me, Jon Snow is the main character. Like he's like obviously they're main characters, but he was one of my favorite characters. I
So he
love
was
seeing,
your main character
yeah, like I
in
wanted to see him fight, even though he's not gonna Superman his way through this. He was not even gonna be like, "Oh, I cut your leg." Like, no, I wanted to see him get beat because I was like, it to me, I love underdogs, and he
yeah,
was an underdog throughout the entire thing. It's kind of like you know, he keeps fighting, but he's gonna go down swinging.
yeah,
And then give me the Arya thing because then that to me makes Arya like, yeah, I'm better than Jon Snow because Arya was another character that I liked. But the fact that the Night King barely did any like fighting, I think for me it was more the choreography of things.
yeah,
He was there the whole time. His presence throughout the
yeah.
entire franchise series was felt whenever they kind of, and then it's just like, oh, Arya just came in like, you know, wind beneath my wings because that I remember that it was just like you the one of the general's hair flickered with the air, and then you just she was a phantom. She was a freaking banshee. Like, yeah,
Yeah, it was just like you're right. Like you felt the presence, like the Night King was always like looming,
yeah.
right? Like it was always the big bad guy for
And
the
then he
end.
did the come at me, bro thing. Like,
Yeah, and it was just like it was so quick. Like it should have been an epic fight, and it just wasn't,
yeah,
right?
but it
And
didn't need to be
I
that
think
long.
that would have been cool if he fought Jon Snow and then
Yeah,
Arya came from the back, right?
because he
Because
called him out.
John, yeah, but also because like Jon Snow was the one that helped Arya like find herself and like gave her the needler and
Like,
all that stuff,
I
right? Like
should have been on the writing table.
it, yeah, of course, 100%.
Ah,
It would have closed that loop perfectly.
yeah,
But they were like, you see him, yeah, it's gonna get crazy. Boom, done. That's it
yeah,
immediately. But I don't know. I like the ending. The Night King thing was the only thing that I
yeah. That
really
was probably my only gripe.
took umbrage with.
But
But
yeah, when it comes to the new show, like I'm still gonna watch it. I because for me, and that's another thing. And that's why I don't want to give it any. I don't want to talk negatively about it. It's we're
mhm,
mostly talking to like being cautious when it comes to prequels or sequels.
yeah,
Um, I'm gonna watch it because like even when it comes to Marvel, when MCU drops something, I'm still gonna watch it. Like when we watch Phase One, we still watch Captain America, which took place in the past. Obviously, it's its own thing, but it's like it connected the dots. So maybe if I watch it and sit
yeah.
there, something in that show is gonna maybe like, ooh, this is. I was like, oh yeah, like then it probably hook me on to episode two. But
Yeah, you get it's that cautious optimism, and
yeah,
you're hoping for the best, but you're not expecting anything.
exactly.
I'll probably give it the one episode watch and like see. I mean, I have HBO Max, so once it comes out, I'll see it when it comes, and like if it's worth it, then I'll if they do the whole like drop the whole thing like the whole season at once, I'll probably give it a shake, right?
They probably might not do that. But
I would imagine that they wouldn't, but I'm
yeah.
just saying like if they do, like I'll probably end up watching the whole first season,
Mm.
unless it's like terrible. But like in comparison,
But it's
I
gonna
can't.
heavily be compared to it.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say in comparison, the Lord of the Rings show
Oh
on
yeah,
Amazon,
that's gonna be its fight. That's gonna be its
that's gonna be its rival
yeah.
because that thing
Has a
we
lot.
got like 5 seconds of it with the guy on the horseback riding, and I
Yeah,
was like, oh, I'm sold. Like it looked beautiful.
that and it has Lord of the Rings in general. Like I don't want to say they both have a lot of lore, but this is specifically talking about the House Targaryen. Like Lord of the Rings, I
Yeah.
don't know what it's really gonna be about. I just know it's like I don't know how many years before, but
And
it's
I think that's to its benefit,
yeah.
like it's gonna touch on stories that maybe we heard about in the movies,
Hmm.
but never have been fleshed out, and that's to its benefit because there's a lot of mystery there. Unless you're a super huge Lord of the Rings buff and you've read a bunch of different stuff, which I can't imagine is a large number of people. But yeah, there's a lot of mystery there, so there's a lot of stuff for you to like hook onto, and it's gonna be
True.
the same character types that we saw in the movies, right? Like we're sure we're gonna get elves, we're gonna get men, dwarves, maybe some hobbits. Like we're gonna see those same type of things that we liked, you know?
Yeah, because it's funny that you say that too. Because like I remember, like sticking with the well, when it comes to HBO in general, when it came to the height of like who was dominating Sundays or whatever day it was, because you had
Yeah.
like True Blood at one point, but then that kind of
Hmm.
like declined. Then it was like AMC had Breaking Bad for Sundays. Like the entire planet was congregating on Sunday to watch a show. And then you have the Game of Thrones. And then I think House Targaryen is gonna try to because they were trying to fill that vacuum. But then
Hmm.
The Witcher is was supposed to take, but The Witcher didn't when it comes and just seeing my internet surroundings, like I like The Witcher, but I think it's the way it executed its time fluctuation was a little weird. I don't know. Did you watch the show?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so like it was weird because like at one point I was like, why is this told weird? And I was like, oh wait, they're going back in time and they're going forward in time. But I'm like,
Yeah,
it took me a while to find that out.
yeah, it's very abrupt.
Yeah,
There's very little transition when they do the time stuff.
yeah.
But
Like in
I mean, it was good, and I don't think it was a flash in the pan. I think it got enough people to be like, okay, like interested
yeah.
now for the season two.
Especially, yeah,
Um,
because with season two coming out, and then the one thing is because it has Netflix behind it.
yeah,
Um,
and I
and
mean Henry Cavill also.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, it's Superman. Like you gotta watch
Yeah,
Superman continue. Like there's literally a story between like his Superman going and I'll write a story for you. I'll tell you how that links. But anyway, yeah, you have Netflix behind it because like Netflix is also doing the Army of the Dead with
yep,
Zack Snyder. So it's like when you have Netflix behind you, they give you all this free. Like there's an animated movie of The Witcher, and I think the main character is Geralt's son, I believe. So like that's a nice little connect. Like you can have this interconnected universe within Netflix, the Netflix universe,
yeah.
where like Game of Thrones, it's like yeah, you got HBO Max, but then you have to like stick with you know I don't know what their how they do things. Like it's I know it's a different thing than Netflix, but you got to stick with the HBO House of Dragons, and then it's like what if it doesn't do well, and then you decide to cancel it. The Witcher, I guess they have ways to end it and not have a cliffhanger. Hope that, but they're yeah.
Well, I mean, the books have been out forever.
Yeah, but that's the thing, and that's the one thing I like about it too. It's funny that you say that. They're doing their own adaptation because like the
Yeah.
books are different from the games. The games it's its own thing.
Hmm.
The show is going to be its own thing. The
Yep.
books is already like that's the one thing I love about adaptation. Like it can be good, but it shouldn't be bad. Like, but
Yeah.
there are gonna people that don't like that. They like stuff being true to the story. But
Yeah, like frame by frame, the same thing.
literally, yeah,
Which is like, I like adaptations, especially when it's IP I don't necessarily like care about, right?
yeah,
Like I
yeah,
played Witcher 3 and I loved it. I never beat it, but it was great. I liked The Witcher season 1. I thought it was awesome. I mean, I'm probably never going to read the books, but I know the story branches off and differs with the books as well. And I'm fine with that. Like it's totally okay. But when it comes to like Game of Thrones, I don't know how much like material there is to
Well,
go
they
on
said they're
for.
gonna take half of the first volume, which is that's where it's gonna start up as. But
Okay.
then it's like, what are they gonna do? And that you can't really deviate because
And I
you're
have a weird thing with this because I feel like I know it's supposed to also take place during the Age of Dragons, right? So we're
yes,
gonna see some dragons, but I have a feeling like it's gonna end up being like a political thriller. You know what I mean? Like it's not gonna
yes.
be as action
It's
and
gonna be
fantasy
the House of
oriented.
Cards, House of Dragons.
Yeah, yeah. Like I really feel like it's gonna be like that because the only thing that they can really go off of is it's their rule. It's the Targaryen rule.
They're trying
They're
to get
ruling.
killed or assassinated or whatever.
Yeah, they're ruling the Seven Kingdoms, and yeah, what is that going to be? Every episode, a different person's going to try and kill them. Like they don't die. Like they continue to rule up
And yeah,
until
we have to see the stakes.
the
Like you gotta
revolt
raise
of
exactly.
like they're gonna be alive at the end of it,
Yeah, those
unless
stakes.
they decide to do a 300-year time skip and then show the revolution that Stark and the king had. I forgot his name, but
Oh yeah,
they were the ones that dethroned the
King
Targaryens.
Baratheon. Yeah, Robert Baratheon.
Yeah, Robert
Yeah,
Baratheon.
like you're right. Like, and if they do decide to do time jumps, because my friend, there was this book I wanted to read, another sci-fi book called Foundation, which is on Apple TV. Yeah, Apple TV Plus. Um, the I don't know what the show is going to be like, but on the books, the Foundation is 3 books,
Mhm,
and the book takes place in one like millennium, and then like hundreds of years later, it
mhm.
continues like telling the kind of a linear story on how like the saving humanity kind of a thing. I wonder
So
if,
kinda like a Final Fantasy type deal
in a
where
sense, but yeah, it's still linear.
yeah.
It's not like its own branch story. But
Okay.
I wonder if how like I would be if that would be dope to me on House Targaryen, where you break off and do time skips. Because
Yeah, I think that would be a fantastic way to tell
kind of
that
like
story.
what's that show? Not that British show with the Queen. It was like the ruler or whatever.
Oh, Doctor Who.
No, not wait, what?
Yeah, Doctor Who. That's what you're talking about, right?
Well, the Doctor Who guy is
With
in
with
that.
with with the Queen and the robots. Doctor Who,
No, no.
right?
It's about the
No.
British. It's about the British Queen. It's about Queen Elizabeth. I
Oh,
think. Oh,
Queen's
it's called the
Gambit.
Crown. It's called
Queen's
the Crown.
Gambit.
No, no, it's called the.
Yeah, Queen's Gambit.
It's called the Crown, but they do time skips on that. So you see Queen
Mm.
Elizabeth at a young age taking her role.
She's all that. The one with Amanda Bynes,
Yes,
and her father's like the British Prime Minister or something.
yes.
Yeah, that one. Yep.
You're such a troll. But yes, time skip would be dope. But there still needs to be stakes. Like we know they don't die until
Yeah.
so like it.
Like the
You know,
most I can see
yeah,
happening is like they could talk about like the fall of dragons, right? But like I don't think that's enough to drive a show.
yeah.
And
There's something
because
needs to be cared about for these characters.
yeah, like we have to care about it because House Targaryen is supposed to be ruling up until Robert Baratheon kills the Targaryen
Oh well,
ruler.
and I remember this though. They mentioned Civil War, so it depends on how it goes about. Like they're in the family, there's a schism, so that might increase the stakes a little bit. But then it's like
But it's like, are we gonna care enough at that point? Like once we start to see that divide, are we gonna care enough about these characters? Because
knowing how it ends.
yeah, knowing that it stays in their
Well,
family.
let me throw this. Let me throw you a curveball. And this is kind of hard to say. It's you can't really compare the two, but it's like okay, One Piece, right? He wants to be the Pirate King,
Okay.
but we know that's gonna happen. But the key thing is caring, like you said.
Like we know it's gonna happen, but we don't know the whole point of One Piece is the journey, right? Like it's the
Exactly,
journey to get to that point.
exactly.
But are we following the journey to get to where Robert Baratheon overthrows them? Like is it gonna be a thing where we're jumping through segments of time to see how one part of it rules and then they do something crazy and then another part of it rules, they do something crazy and then so on and so forth? Or are we gonna just stick with this family that's 300 years before anything that we know?
Yeah, because
And
yeah,
like, do we get to see like the building of the wall, right?
mm,
Like things like that might like get people's attention, right? Like driving out the giants, right? That was a big deal because there's no
yeah,
more giants in the area. So like were they the ones who drove out the giants? Were they the ones that know how the wall got built? Like what else?
yeah. I think, and that's the thing. It kind of it being a prequel, it kind of it the Game of Thrones itself, the first series, it is the Achilles heel of the prequel. That's all I can say.
Mhm.
That's all I can say because we can always speculate here and there, but at the end of the day, they're still gonna pull me in, just like with the Matrix. You're still gonna pull me in, and if I hate it, I'll be tight. But I saw it, I'm over and done with. But
But I guess that's like, right, we don't want it to be the flash in the pan, right?
yeah,
Maybe that's just a generational thing now. Like when we see things or when we experience them, whether it be movie, TV, media, we're expecting that sequel, right? Like we're expecting season two. We're expecting the second
mhm,
movie. Like so if it doesn't have the legs to stand on, it's kind of like, ah man, like you just wasted time. You know? Like you
yeah,
you tease us about this thing that we wanted and then you go and you just take a huge dump on it, you
yeah.
know?
And,
And
and,
I
and-
mean, that
yeah,
even reminds me going back into the before times that reminds me of the Inhumans.
the show that was supposed to drop
Yeah, that show that was like a big
that no
deal
one
and all
saw.
this money. Yeah, that all this money went into, and then they immediately canceled it.
Yeah,
Like because it was a flash in the pan, everyone was super hyped for it, and then it aired, and it was
I want to
utter
say,
garbage.
you know what? I want to say no one was hyped for it because I was hyped because I remember it was a big fu from Fox saying we're not going to give the mutants back, and that's
Hmm.
why I was hyped because they were like, "Oh well, we have Inhumans." That's why I was hyped. Then I saw the trailer and I was like, "This was shot in IMAX,
I
IMAX
was hyped to
camera."
see the characters, like, because I like
Production
Lockjaw, the
was,
big.
yeah,
Yeah, I like Lockjaw, the big dog. Medusa was cool.
but that production
Black Bolt.
of her hair was no.
Yeah, but then it's like you see these things in the trailer. You're like, okay, maybe it'll be like ironed out
Yeah,
when it comes out, and then you see the thing, and it's like, oh no, that was final. They
Well,
didn't fix
but you saw it,
anything.
right? I never saw it still. I
Oh,
just
I saw like 10 minutes. I don't even think I saw the full episode. I looked at it and I was like, oh snap, that's bad. Like, that was it.
you couldn't look at what you're so.
And I didn't see it when it launched because I believe it was in theaters, wasn't it?
I think the first two aired
The
in
first two
theaters, and
episodes
then I
went
think
aired in
then later
theaters.
they put it on TV on ABC.
Yeah, so I saw it when it went to TV, and I saw the legit. I don't even know if I made it through the first whole episode, but I remember watching it, and I was there. I was just like, like it was physically hurting me to keep going, and I was just like, wow, they did not. They
It's
just didn't do
crazy.
this right.
Now that I'm thinking about it, it's a random anecdote. Like you see, not an anecdote, but a nice little connection. Ramsey from Game of Thrones gets killed, and
Yeah.
then
Yep.
Inhumans, and then that gets
Hmm.
killed off.
Yeah. It was just.
But you know what
It's
it is? I hope the
wild.
MCU or Feige, the studios, like kind of rectify that. Because
Mhm.
Inhumans, like I don't know super that I don't know a lot about it, but I know it has a lot of lore, and you can tell a good
Yeah.
story. Maybe
Yeah.
make a movie out of it or a
There's
show
definitely
that's
meat
done
of.
well.
Yeah. There's meat on it. Like they could. I don't know if a show would do too well, but I
Like,
know
but
they
not
could definitely
even that.
make a
Yeah,
couple
like
movies.
The Inhumans came out so I watched and Marvel Shield like to the T.
Yeah.
Like I watched it weekly. It was good. When they introduced Inhumans with that I
Hmm.
mean in MCU lore, I was like, that's a dope way to introduce them. And then that would have been like the Inhumans, like the team spinoff, which obviously didn't do well. The Inhumans still existed in the in the Marvel Agents of Shield. Um, and then there was some point in time where they were saying the TV show is not connected with the
Yeah.
MCU timeline. But then they didn't shoot themselves in the foot because and I know you didn't continue watching the show, but in the last two seasons they did a time jump, and then with our us knowing now the multiverse is real, they did time travel and they had their own multiverse without the multiverse being a thing yet. So to
Mm.
me personally, I think Marvel's Agent of Seal is canon. Even Agent Carter to me is canon, even though that got canceled prematurely.
No,
Prematurely,
that's canon, 100%.
yeah, like to me that. But then, and did you watch Loki? You watched
Yeah.
Loki. We spoke about this. Yeah. So like, there's this like you've seen that Easter egg where like Agent Carter was like in the background. Like to me,
Yeah.
like that would have been a nice little connection there too. But that's just me hoping and dreaming. But they should bring in the Inhumans and redo that. Maybe say the other one wasn't real. It was just a figment of our
Yeah.
imagination.
It's just like there's definitely. I think they casted that show really well. First
Yeah.
off, and then there's a lot of story material that they can crank out a couple movies, and they can keep it isolated, right? Like they don't have to merge it into MCU territory. Like they don't have to meet the Avengers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They
Like
don't
they
have
could
to do
keep
all
it in
that.
its own contained story, and I think it would do well.
I would like them
Um,
to be hidden. Like, I think that was their thing. They were always hidden,
yeah,
like behind
that
this.
was hidden.
And it's funny
But
because
then again, like now we're talking about Eternals that's coming out, and that's like their shtick, you know.
that is the yeah. I think that is supposed to be like their replacement in a sense. But yeah, well, and that's coming up soon, so we'll see
That
that.
I have no expectation for. I don't know
I have no
what's gonna happen.
expectation, and
I'm
I
just
don't
gonna
know
let it
anything about
assault my
Eternals.
eyeballs.
Exactly.
Like I'm just gonna take it all in for what it is because
I
I
just
have
want to
no
see Jon
clue
Snow
what
on
they're
screen.
about.
I want to see the Black Knight. I just want to see Jon Snow. He don't know nothing.
Honestly, I'm pretty hyped to see Angelina Jolie. I feel like I haven't
Oh
seen
no,
her
yeah.
in anything in a while.
Her last movie, and I believe she directed, was I forget the name of the movie, but it was like she was a firefighter for forest fires, and then there was a
Oh
guy who passed
yeah,
away.
yeah.
She saved
That
it.
was
All
her.
that does. I think it
Was
was
that her directorial debut?
no. She's directed other movies before, but I think it's her a movie she directed or maybe
Mhm.
produced. But that was like the last thing.
No, she directed that one. Yeah, I
She
remember
did
that. I
direct
remember
that.
that.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
she directed another movie too. It was I forget the name of that one.
Uh, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. That was.
She didn't direct that.
No, she didn't.
Yeah,
She didn't direct that.
she didn't direct
Don't at me. Don't at me. Yeah, she didn't direct that.
that.
Um,
But yeah,
hey, yeah, I guess the moral of the story is let's see how Game of Thrones shakes out, right?
take it
Like,
back.
let's take it back. Now, transitioning to this is not going to be like a full topic, but we're going to honorably mention it here. first reviews and critic responses of the new Ghostbusters has come up, right? So big thing, like top dog IGN gave it a 9 out of 10, which is
And IGN is very,
bananas.
yeah, IGN is like
They're strict.
strict with their ratings.
Yeah, they gave it a 9, and they said it was a great tribute. The son of oh my goodness, the original Ghostbuster,
I'm
the guy
trying.
that died.
Wow, I'm forgetting his name too. Watch
It
it
was
come back.
Egon.
Yeah, yeah. I'm forgetting his name.
Anyway, original director of Ghostbusters 1 and 2. He's since passed away, and his son was the one who penned and directed this, I believe. They're saying it was a great homage to the original Ghostbusters. It is a continuation,
Yeah.
so it picks up after Ghostbusters 2, and we completely erase that god
Well,
awful.
that one supposedly was its own thing, so it did never tarnished.
Yeah, it's its own
Yeah.
thing, but it tarnished it. It tarnished it. The like, and
But
I
I
have
heard that
no. I'm gonna address this up front.
they
I have no
say it.
issue with female casts in movies, but the female cast Ghostbusters could have been great, and it was terrible.
Was it the writing?
It was the writing. It was the. You know what? The acting performances were pretty good. Not gonna lie, like I think they performed very well. The only person I have an issue with, and I don't know if it's maybe just her as an actor that I don't vibe with, but Leslie Jones, her acting is extremely like over the top, and
Mhm.
her comedy is very like shoehorned in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it didn't like
She works in
go
certain
well.
things, but like there's certain
Yeah,
things that I'm like she shouldn't. Yeah.
it just didn't go well with the material. It didn't go. It felt like it was forced in there and didn't really flow with the rest of the characters.
Mm.
Um, like I said, it could have been great, but it really really missed the mark. It was not good. It was upsetting how not good it was, and
Yeah.
it's incredibly forgettable. Like I
Yeah,
couldn't even tell you
I
what that
always
story was
like
about.
I haven't seen it, but then I always forget that like it happened. But one thing I saw recently, I don't know what the connection was, but there was still a homage to that movie. The was it 2016, right? The Ghostbusters, the female.
Something like that.
Yeah, there was a in the new Ghostbusters movie. There is a like little nod to it, saying like, "Oh, but it's not connected. It's not. They're not in the same timeline. Nothing, none of that."
Yeah,
It was like, "Oh yeah, that movie was that we did that." I don't know
it
who owned.
happened.
Yeah, that's basically what they're saying. But a 9 from IGN. And
Yeah,
then you
it's
heard
intense.
criticism from other critics.
Yeah, and from other critics, I haven't seen any other gradings, but a lot of them have been giving it very good like reviews and saying how good the writing is and how good the acting is. I mean, I can't wait to see it. From the first trailer when it was the teaser and all you saw was the DeLorean under the not the DeLorean,
Yeah,
the Ghostbusters
yeah,
mobile underneath the
the
tarp or
wagon.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, the wagon. I was like, oh snap! Like from there, it got me, and that was
I,
years ago that we saw
yeah, we
that
saw that a
teaser.
long time ago, and
It was a long
yeah,
time
the
ago.
pandemic kind of screwed things up for us. I still feel like I lost a year. We all lost a year. What got me was the car, but then like Paul Rudd, I was like, oh, if Paul Rudd's in it, like you gotta go see it. It's
And
kind of
yeah,
like Ryan Reynolds. You can see well, you
yeah,
can say that with Ryan Reynolds because there's like two.
and there was another trailer. It was like one of the first ones where you see the car actually like driving around, right?
And then
And
the
then you
thing
see the
comes
kids
out.
come out at the
Yeah,
as the gun, like it
yeah,
was in the Ghostbusters cartoon. And
yeah,
I was like, oh,
yeah.
like
That was cool. That was
it
cool.
was cool and it was great. But
I
and
want to be one. I want to be a
the one
Ghostbuster.
thing that did bother me with the last trailer that came out, I don't know if you saw, they have all these like the mini Stay Puffed Marshmallow
Yeah,
Men,
yeah.
like they were like individual marshmallows and they became little ghosts. I saw that and I was like, oh, I really hope they're not trying to like force this as like I don't know, like for like this is the kid thing, like kids are gonna like this thing, and like really force that in.
They're gonna like sell that to make
Yeah,
sold.
and
But you got
exactly,
to. You know they got to. Like you can still do that. Like
and then I
with Shang
saw
Chi with the little thing, they're gonna sell that.
and then I saw Funko now has a full line of the mini Stay Puff guys,
There we
and
go.
they're all different ones from the movie, like they're individual like monsters or ghosts,
Got to make
and
that money.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, "Oh, man." And then another thing that I have that's like, I know we've talked about this before, like, this is just a 200 cc needle of nostalgia direct into our carotid artery, right?
Oh my
Like,
god.
this is high octane, unfiltered, pure nostalgia. But I really don't want it to be like a lot of fan service. I don't want it to be like every 5 seconds it's like they're talking about the old Ghostbusters or like something from the old movies. Like I
So,
really would love for it to be its own story with, obviously it has links to the old ones, but I really want it to be its own story.
well, compare it to like, how'd you feel about? I trying to recall that feeling the first time you saw it, not how you feel now. The Force Awakens, because that was a complete nostalgia trip too.
You see, but I think it had enough. Like, are we talking about the trailer or the movie?
Oh, I thought you were talking about like you hope when you finally see the Ghostbusters movie, it doesn't feel like a
Yeah,
nostalgia.
yeah, yeah.
So
No, that's what I was
I'm
saying.
talking about, I guess when you first saw the first, well, not the first, the Force Awakens movie.
The movie. So
Yeah,
when I first saw that, I was like, it opens up and it's Ray. Well, I mean, it doesn't open up with that. It opens up with Finn and like all his stormtrooper stuff that he's going through, and you see Kylo Ren and he blocks the laser, and it's like the first time we see that, and we're like, oh snap, he's super powerful.
yeah,
But and then after that, it goes straight into Ray in the desert, going through the Imperial starship and like scavenging. So it had enough of like
its own
this
thing.
is in the Star Wars universe, but most of that movie, up until we see the like Han Solo and Chewie and all that, most of that movie was about Ray, right? And it didn't have any real links to Skywalkers. Like it didn't
Yeah,
until we find then they take the Millennium Falcon, Han Solo picks it up, and then start getting a little more tidbits of info. But it's really following her, and it just so happens that
well, her and Finn, just
yeah, her and Finn,
throw that
and
out.
it just so happens that their stories are colliding with the old Star Wars people, you know.
Okay,
So I think they did it okay up until the last movie. Last movie, they just poured a whole bucket of fan service, but
yeah.
you know,
So you just don't want that. You want it to be like just how you describe it. You wanted
hmm
the old to meet the new, the old, the new stuff, to meet the old stuff in this world, but not just be about the old stuff.
yeah, like I wanted to meet in the world of the new stuff. I don't want it to feel like this is just. And I feel like I've bashed on this movie a couple times, even though I like it. I don't want it to be like a Ready Player One, where it's just like reference after reference after reference after cameo after you know what I mean? Like that movie I really liked, but that movie was like
I think it
a
did very
product
well
of
on
it
the
of
whole.
itself, and it's like very contained. Like that movie is literally made to be like a bunch of references.
Yeah,
Like and when they do sequels, prequels, whatever it may be, just media at large, a lot of them fall into that pit of trying to reference the other thing too much to where it's like you don't even care about the news story that's happening. So there's that balance, right? I think Force Awakens was a great comparison because I think they hit that balance very well.
yeah.
So I hope it's more like that and not like
Ready Player One.
no. What was the last one? The last Star Wars,
Oh, last
the
Skywalker,
Last Jedi, right?
Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker. I want it to be Force Awakens. I don't want it to be Rise of
Yeah,
Skywalker.
I agree. I agree with you. I need to go back and watch Ghostbusters again. I believe there was three,
Great movies.
or no, just two.
Two,
Why don't I feel like there was three?
two, and then the 2015, 2016 one,
Oh, that one I didn't care about. I just was
and
like,
that was it.
okay, well, nah, yeah, I agree with you. I completely agree about that because, and we mentioned it earlier. If you're gonna do a sequel, just let it be its own thing. If you're gonna do a like I said, Monsters University did it. It was its own thing. It was its own thing. I forgot about like laughing, like being a power source. It was like
Hmm
the fact that scream, like this was the height of screaming, and I was like, oh, like this, I'm scared. So I was like, okay, this is the thing. What's another thing that
Yeah,
they?
it was a new story in that world. You
Yeah,
know, like it didn't like yes, you had the same characters and all that, but it
yeah,
gave
different
us like something to
arcs.
care about.
Yeah,
Like it was their backstory, you know.
yeah, I like it. I agree with that. I'm trying to think of another
Just
movie, but yeah,
yeah. But yeah, it's just like that, right? Like I just want to care about the story, and I don't want it to be like, oh, that was so fun, and then that's it. Like I want to care about this movie as its own entity, and just be like, wow, like that was crazy. Like when I saw Force Awakens, like when I saw that, I wasn't like, oh man, that was a great homage to all the old Star Wars movies. I was like, that was a freaking movie. Like I loved it. So that's what I want to have, right? I know it's not new IP. Yes, it's a recycled thing again, but like
yeah,
they got me. Like I'm gonna go see it. Like
like
I
yeah,
just want it to be good.
it's like they always get you. They're
Yeah,
gonna be like,
always.
we always made the joke whenever we see what was it? Taken Five, The Takening. We just kept going and going, and they
Yeah.
told us that we're gonna keep making movies. Like, I'll go see that one. Obviously, I didn't see Taken Three. I did not see Taken Three. I saw Taken One. I saw Taken Two. That was my stuff.
Taken Two was the daughter, right? The daughter became the good guy.
No, I think that happened like later. I don't even know if that was real. I feel like I'm making that up. Taken One, daughter was taken, and I
Yeah,
think I forgot what Taken Two was
I
about.
think Taken Two is like I don't know if Liam Neeson gets taken.
No, no, he doesn't get taken because he's the one doing the action. I think
No,
the daughter or the mom got involved. Someone got
I
involved.
really think Taken Two is like it follows the daughter and like she's trying to save.
That's
I'm gonna tell you
probably
right now.
three.
Taken Two, the Takening.
Taken Two or Taken Seven, the China Wars.
Who gets kidnapped
He's like, who gets kidnapped and
and taken? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Damn, this is like a cluster. Fuck. Yeah, it follows.
yeah, she's in
Yeah,
it,
it
but
follows the daughter.
with
The
like
daughter
they're
helps.
together.
Yeah. So who was it? Retired. Rescues his daughter. Yup. Brian and Lenore. Yeah, her parents. So Liam Neeson and his wife, his ex-wife, they get taken, and then the daughter that got taken in the first movie goes after to find them.
So that was two.
That was two. I didn't see three. I
Wait,
don't know
I
what
feel like
happened in
three. He's getting chased by someone or something like. I don't know. I never saw
three.
it.
I think puts him back in the driver's seat because I remember the poster was him doing that classic like action thing with like guns like this, and it's a taken like diagonal,
That's right.
and the
Yeah,
E was a three.
you
Is
gotta love those posters. It's
love it.
great.
I wonder how many movie posters look exactly like that.
Oh, a lot. You know how many Marvel posters look the same? Yeesh.
Facts.
I try
Very true.
not to stare at them too much because I'm like, okay, cool. I'm there for the Marvel movie. Just don't care for the posters. They're just a copy and paste. Like Phase
Um,
One posters were great. I
yeah, I love the Phase
mean,
One
like
posters.
Phase
And you
One
know
and
what?
like a bit of two.
One of my favorite posters was Ant Man's. Do you remember
Iron Man
seeing the
One
movie theater poster of Ant Man One?
was
It
it?
was literally just all white,
Yeah, and
and
there
in
was,
dead center it was like the super small
and
Ant
that
Man
was very
thing.
clever. That was very clever.
Yeah,
Simple,
that was my
clever.
my like favorite one.
Because you can't do that with any other poster. You do that with Doctor Strange. What are you doing? Like kind of a thing. Yeah,
Yeah, and then
it
all the
only
other ones,
works with
they're always like. Then Ant Man and the Wasp fell to the same thing as like it's the
that.
superheroes back to back.
Yeah, and
It's like
the side.
slanted, and it's
Yeah,
like, ooh.
like what they
It's
should
like,
have done for that one, which would have been clever and simple. Actually, do a big poster. Oh no, but that would have spoiled it. That would have spoiled it of him being Giant Man.
oh yeah.
Oh wait, actually,
Well, no, because he was Giant Man in Ant Man one.
in Civil War.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
he also did it in the first Ant Man for a hot sec.
no, he didn't. He didn't.
Yeah, because he says it in Civil War. He was like, "I've
He
only
says
done
he
this
says
one
I
time
did it, but
before."
we never see it. He just
Are
said
you
I.
sure?
Yeah, because Civil War happens after. That's part of Phase Three.
Yeah, yeah.
So he says, "Oh, I did it before," but we as the audience never saw it. But he did it for the first time in Civil War. So if Ant-Man and Wasp should have done like a big giant poster of Giant Man, and then you have the
Mm,
Wasp like somewhere floating.
yeah.
Maybe do a little
But
side.
I guess yeah, it might ruin it because he wasn't formally called Giant Man or anything. So,
True, but it doesn't spoil
but yeah, their posters kind of suck once in a while. Well, most of the time.
most of the time.
But
But
moving on to our next topic of the day, we're going
so
to talk about
anime,
animes.
anime,
Animes,
anime. This is a
animes
amazing thing.
is the Japanese art of animation
Not
that
cartoons.
not cartoons,
Serious stuff.
animations, serious things like food and monsters and swordsmen and a lot of chakras and ki and demons, like
And
serious
hockey.
stuff.
You
Hockey,
said ki already.
I said ki.
There's chi too, because it's the
There's
same thing.
chi, there's chi and ki.
And
There's all these serious things, you
will
know, weird women doing crazy stuff, super explicit sex things in
that
cartoon form.
the Japanese culture people are normal with, because that
Yep.
doesn't really affect them. Um, the reason we're talking about this because I saw a meme which was funny because I'm 29, right? So it was just
You
like
are.
still 30 and you're watching anime. So I'm like, oh, I'm still watching anime. I always picture myself as a 65-year-old just watching anime, and I'm probably still watching reading One
I mean,
Piece.
I can't imagine, right? Like, since it's something that we've grown up with, like, I can't imagine not having at least one in my
And yeah,
deck, right? Like,
yeah, like if I can't keep up, because like think about it. Let's say, hypothetically, but realistically, we're gonna be rich one day.
yeah,
Um,
of course.
we're retired early. We got not much to do. That's what we're gonna watch. That and our movies, continuing the MCU. When we're like 150, we won't be able to get out of our bed. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna watch anime. I'm probably gonna be rewatching One Piece for the billionth time, like people that watch Friends or The Office.
We're gonna be 150, and it's gonna be finally the last chapter is gonna come out.
Because you know what it is, Ichiro Oda is frozen in a time capsule. Every time he
Yep.
has a new idea, he gets taken out.
Yeah, they
He
thaw
writes
him
a
out to
chapter,
write a chapter and
put
then
him back
put
in.
him back in cryo sleep.
He is the Japanese Winter Soldier,
Yep, I get that.
basically. But yeah, I think I'm gonna still do it because you know what it is like. We were subjected to anime since we were like babies. And the first one that sticks to mind is Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z,
Yep.
like that. Those franchises. What kind of made it more popularized was
Mhm.
Pokemon.
Oh
And
yeah.
and in my head, when I always think people say cartoons, I always say, oh, I had a feeling Pokemon was different because it had that very anime-ish. Because I didn't know anime yet, but I knew it
Hmm.
was very Japanese. I knew it was Eastern, and I was like, oh yeah, like this is dope. Then you got the Yu-Gi-Ohs, then you got the Digimons. Like we grew up on it. It makes me think of the people in the old days when they used to, and they were adults at the time when cartoons and the funny papers and the comics, that wasn't just for kids, that was for entertainment. You had the radio.
Yeah.
There wasn't TV really at the time. You had radio, you had comic books, and now it's subjected to being, hey, that's for kids, but it's really not. It's really not.
Yeah, it's that thing of like, whenever there's a new thing, it seems like the consensus is like that's for the younger crowd, right?
Yeah.
I think when computers came out, like yeah, it had a lot of scientific value, but a lot of people saw it as like a game thing, right?
Mhm.
It's like they're fun to play games on, but like, what are you ever gonna really use that for? And now it's like
It's
it's a
literally
thing,
it's a part of your life.
yeah.
You
And
have
like
it in your pocket.
when video game consoles came out, it was a thing of like that's a toy. After
Yeah.
the first adopters who have to be adults, right? Then it's a toy
Yeah.
because it's just entertainment for entertainment's sake. And then as we grow up and as we're able to kind of like I guess like move that technology along, right? As we iterate on it and it becomes better, sleeker and smoother, like we're able to tell more complex stories. So for video games, right, it came
That
from
is
being
true.
a pocket toy that was just meant to pass the time to being able to take you away from reality and tell you this visual interactive story.
Seriously. Like you
Yeah.
go from playing Pong. two dots and lines.
Yeah.
The God of War.
Yep.
Like what?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
That's
exactly
over
that. And
what
then I think
40 to 50 years. That's a big
that's
jump.
crazy.
That's
Yeah.
big. And
And to think like how more advanced the actual technology
yeah,
became, right? Like the Atari was 2600 was a huge ass like
yeah.
cinder block thing. It
It
was
was,
big.
it was my car, size of a car.
Yeah, and then to see the
Exaggerating,
Wii,
guys. Yeah,
like freaking this big.
we're gassing it. But there was also a Game Boy Micro with
Yeah, then the Game
still
Boy
like that.
Micro, which
Still,
was like
that
a
I think
deck of cards.
that was the smallest thing. Is that the smallest system ever,
Well, like handheld system, maybe.
or just system in ever? Not. Or if we're talking about handheld systems, yes, it's the smallest. I'm talking about systems ever, like being a console as well. I think that's the smallest little
It
device.
might be
Yeah.
because it's literally like
It's
it's super duper small.
yes.
But
Still got my.
yeah, it's like that. Yeah, it's pretty close to that.
But
For
yeah,
the
like
audio listeners, Jay just held up a Mott's apple
oh
juice
yeah,
box.
I've been drinking apple juice this whole time. If you're just listening, so it was great. Nice little aperitif.
but yeah, and I think anime. Obviously, anime has always been a storytelling like vehicle,
I think yes,
but
it's always been storytelling. It's been a storytelling vehicle, and like even I tell you like my experience like growing up like, and it's after because I had we all had dial up at some point, but I think people around me moved a little faster and they got DSL. When I finally got digital speed line.
is that
uh,
what it's called?
I believe it's called digital speed line. Yes, because
No way.
it still uses the phone line, but it's a different. It's not fiber optics.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I was DSL, and then I went on to cable, but it was still cable. It was still not fiber optics. Now everything's fiber optics.
Close. It's digital subscriber line.
Is it really? Oh wow, I thought it
Yeah.
was speed. But anyway, close enough.
Still, I mean, I would have never even thought of that. It was digital whatever line. Like,
Yeah. So when I finally got that, because I was still with AOL, but AOL had this thing with Verizon. They had like a little co-parenting thing when it came to the internet. So I got
okay,
that, and I looked at that as a goal. That was like that was my, because I never grew up with cable. Everyone had cable. Everyone had the bootleg cable. Everyone had real cable. I had nothing. I had the antenna. I had the rabbit ears.
the rabbit ears.
The rabbit ears. Um,
We had bootleg cable.
we were so cool. Yeah, people always talking about uh, the latest episode DBZ, and I'm here like, yeah,
I remember, like,
still
I
talking
spoke to
about.
my dad about that not too long ago.
Yeah,
Um, and I was like, yeah, man, like, I always remember, like, because back in the day, and my dad's still a pretty big, like, wrestling fan. And when I
mhm,
was younger, I always watched with him.
yeah.
Um, I remember talking to him. I was like, yeah, like, I remember, like, we always got, like, all like the big fights and everything. Like, what? Like, how did we have all that? And he was like, he like laughed and he was like,
Are you
because
recording
it
me?
wasn't, it wasn't like a legitimate box.
Yeah, because that was a thing too. So, kind of before I go back to what I was saying, I would watch. It was on. I think at the time it was on like Fox Five. They had the wrestling on Fridays, but then there was talk about like Sunday or Monday Night Raw. But that was on cable, and I'm like, how am I going to
Yeah,
see the continuation of that story? So I had to wait till I go to school. People talk about it, and then watch the new episode on Friday. So that was my life. But
yeah.
anyway, so I finally got the digital subscriber line, and then I was just watching everything. I was consuming like my eyes. If you remember that Verizon commercial when like the guy turned like his eye turned into a robot because it was like what was it? It was a Verizon phone commercial. It was the iBot. No, it was some sort of robot phone. It was like that was its thing, whatever it was called. But yeah, I felt like my eyes were turning into like a robot. I went back and watched Digimon Adventures 1, Digimon Adventures 2, 3, 4, and went Metabots, Fighting Foodons. I went
Metabots.
I went hard and Beyblade, and I was like, wait, I remember watching One Piece because One Piece got taken off 4 Kids and then it got moved to
Hmm.
uh, Cartoon Network, but they took it off Cartoon Network. So I was like, I'm gonna go back and what that's when I got.
Yeah, it was only on Toonami for a little while.
Yeah, and then I went back and just watched that. I was watching I was watching all the classics, watching the new stuff, getting my Naruto and YouTube. Remember, back in the day before Google got YouTube, and there was no Crunchyroll, there was no Funimation, and if they did, you still had to pay. It wasn't subscriptions. You had to pay for like each chunk of
Like episode, right?
episodes or
Or
whatever.
season.
So YouTube had people legally put it up on YouTube, and I used to type in One Piece episode 300 part
I remember people
one.
used to put up episodes and they would flip it, so like it like
They did
didn't
do that.
rupture the copyright or
Yeah,
whatever.
but
So
remember, it
you'd have
wasn't
to
as
watch it and it's like
yeah.
backwards.
So it wasn't that strict at that when I was watching it, because I was still watching it normally, but they had to break it up because you couldn't have 24-minute thing. So they broke it up. So I'm watching part one of One Piece. I'm like, oh, and then or the second part of Naruto, and that would be my whole day until my mom came home, and then I would turn off the computer because the thing is steaming hot for me watching all this anime, and I would just and I think that's when the weekday cartoons started dying down a bit. Yeah, they started dying down a bit because I remember it was like Shaolin Showdown and Mega Man NT Warrior was like that's when and it was starting to die out at some point. Then it was only Saturdays. So then the weekdays when vacation, that was just anime central. And I was getting into anime. I was just like the Big O, the Cowboy Bebop, oh my gosh, Samurai Champloo. You don't even know. My boxes of brain, Wolf's Rain, Outlaw Star. I could keep going. And then because for the longest time I kept trying to download Full Metal Alchemist,
Mhm.
but I couldn't find a good copy. Then I just said, you know what, whatever. Then I stayed with Bleach at the time when Bleach was good. So the big three, which everyone will agree the big three was Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece. Then I used to download them, but it was
What about Dragon
illegal.
Ball Z? What are you talking
It
about?
wasn't no as at the time because the big three of before was Dragon Ball Z. Uh, no, Dragon Ball Z was its own thing until it started dying out. Because remember, Dragon Ball Z was done already. So
Yeah.
then the what filled that vacuum was One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach. Bleach died off. Now, like currently now, the big three is probably Attack on Titan. Well, not
My
big
Hero.
three, My Hero, like, but there. I don't want to say big three because One Piece is still the last out of the others. Because Naruto
It's the
was done,
last of the
Bleach,
old guard.
yeah, that literally last of the old guard. And once One Piece is done, who fills that vacuum? My Hero is gonna be done soon, so it's like, who's gonna fill that vacuum? But yeah, man, I was just, and then I found just I went into that's when I became a pirate. I was proud finding all this anime. I found a link that gave me anime of it was like an archive of anime. Like look at my like it was an archive. I found a lot, and I still have them on my hard drives. Like it's crazy. Like good. Like I found like Gundam X, Gundam Turn A that only came out in China. Like I was like, bruh, I'm trying to go. It's crazy. I was on my anime life, and
It's
then
so weird because I had such a different. I'm sorry. Are you done with
now
your
I'm done.
anime
I
thing?
could keep going, but
Okay.
I'm be done right now. Go ahead.
I had such a different like exposure, I guess, to anime, right? So I guess my first one that I got, I guess I latched onto was Pokemon, right? Like
Yeah.
Pokemon was the thing, and I remember
Gotta
them eating the rice balls and calling them donuts. Like it was.
get.
I watched a lot of Pokemon, like a lot. So Pokemon was my thing, and then I guess like a year or two later, maybe, or maybe even at the same time, Dragon Ball Z was a big deal, right?
But
I
didn't that come
remember
before for you? Because I think,
Dragon Ball Z.
yeah, because it
I
was
don't
on.
know because Pokemon came out in like '96 or '97, right? Like
You're not wrong because at one. So I before Kids WB started their line on Saturday. Before it was Dragon Ball Z, but it was the edited version. It wasn't Toonami yet. It was still on. It was still on Channel 11.
yeah.
Um,
So I saw. So it came out
because Dragon Ball
in
Z was out for a long time. Like I'm talking about, like to the world.
yeah. So it originally aired in Japan 1997. So that means that Pokemon in the US,
I want to say it was
right? It
98
probably started in like
or 99.
98. If it started in 97 in Japan, yeah, in 98. First run was 98.
Got it.
So
That was the first year.
for
Yeah.
me, I didn't start watching Dragon Ball Z until it came out to Toonami.
Oh, okay. Because for me,
So
so
I didn't watch
I
it.
had early exposure. Okay,
Yeah, I didn't watch it on 11. I watched it on Toonami when it
makes
first came
sense.
through. And I watched from was it Saiyan Saga all the way up to Boo.
Okay, nice, nice.
So I watched that whole thing, and it was abridged or whatever, but we
Yeah.
it was
What
the whole
about
thing.
Yu-Gi-Oh?
So and then Yu-Gi-Oh I watched as well, but Yu-Gi-Oh came after
Pokemon.
Dragon Ball Z. Like
Oh,
Dragon Ball
really?
Z had already been going, and then Yu-Gi-Oh
Ah,
came
okay.
out.
Got it.
Yu-Gi-Oh came out, I want to say like 99 maybe 2000.
It was probably like a
Um
2000, 2001.
yeah, and I definitely watched the first. I remember
Like first arc.
the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh, right? And then it
Yeah.
culminated with them fighting Pegasus at the end.
Yeah.
Um, and then after that, I remember watching the second season. I don't think it
Mhm.
was a new series. I think it was the second season,
Yeah, they still do.
because it still followed Yama Yugi.
Yeah.
So, and I remember they had like the portable,
That was with Kaiba because he
yeah,
did
with
the thing.
Kaiba, the
Yeah.
portable decks, and like they were playing like out in the streets now, and I was like, oh,
That was
but
crazy.
yeah. And then I
And
watched that.
when they stole the toys, I never got it
Mhm.
though.
I never got it. I always wanted it.
Me too.
But yeah, and then I had the cards and everything.
Yeah,
And
the black one.
Digimon was always peppered through there.
Yeah.
I as it aired, I watched 1 and
Adventures one
2.
and two.
Yeah, and I think 3 I went to later. 4 I used to watch like before school, like when I
Yeah.
was
We
older.
talked about that.
Yeah. And then on Foxbox, when Foxbox was a thing, I watched Fighting Foodons. I would watch
Sonic. Oh,
Sonic.
and One Piece.
What was the wrestling one?
Oh, Ultimate Muscle.
Ultimate Muscle.
Ultimate Muscle.
I
I was
used to
like,
watch
yo,
Ultimate Muscle, um, and then with 4 Kids, right? Oh no, it wasn't 4 Kids. It was
Four Kids was still part
WB.
of Foxbox, but yeah.
Yeah, but WB Kids was
Yes.
Jackie Chan Adventures. That was definitely an anime. Like the animation style to me, that Jackie
For
Chan
you,
Adventures was an
that
anime.
was
Um,
I would
and
say that.
what else?
I'm
I
trying to think.
think that was it. Like early, like I watched a lot of the kid ones, and I remember like at night or early in the morning, if I woke up, I used to watch Inuyasha, which was weird because I was a kid and none of it really made sense to
Those
me. But I
that
used,
was more. You had to be older to watch that too.
yeah, but I still watched it because it was a
Yeah,
cartoon and people were fighting. So I watched Inuyasha, and then
exactly.
I watched oh my
I'll tell
god,
you. You said you woke up early, right? I got you. I'll give you some names. You got Sailor Moon. You got Zoids.
oh
Uh,
Zoids, I watched the
yeah,
crap out of.
because it's
I had the
robots
toys and
fighting.
everything.
Robots
Yeah,
fighting. It was
Zoids,
geared to boys.
oh my god, Zoids burned a freaking hole in my head.
It wasn't
Sailor
really
Moon, I watched a
anime.
couple, but I always thought it was like a girl thing, so I didn't like
Really,
watch
like
it too
Sailor Moon
much.
was like the sound, the opening that didn't get you. Like,
No, I watched a couple episodes, but I always like in my head I was like, oh, it's a show about girls, so it's like it's a girl
nah,
show.
like to me that was like before, like Xena the Warrior
Like
Princess.
now, I would watch it like without a
Yeah,
problem. Like I don't
like
care,
Xena
but
the Warrior Princess. That was like my anime version
mm,
of that. I was like,
mm.
yeah, my show.
So it's like I watched some of it, but not a lot. Um,
You didn't
but yeah, there was
mention
stuff I used to watch in the morning, and I remember it was Inuyasha, Digimon. Was it series? What was the one that we were talking about?
the one that we used to watch before school.
Yeah, when
That was
they were the
Frontier.
Digimon
That was Frontier.
Frontier. Um,
I'm trying to think one
Dra-
for.
oh, sometimes in the morning, Dragon Ball would come on,
Oh yeah,
and I
that's
watched
heavy.
a lot of Dragon Ball, and I got exposed to Dragon Ball way after Dragon Ball Z. So then I got to see that play out, and I really liked Dragon Ball. I watched most of it, I would say, if not all of it, when I was
Gundam
younger.
and Gundam Wing.
Oh, that's the other one, Gundam Wing. I used to watch,
Mm.
um, and they had it early in the morning, but they also had it on Toonami once in a while, and I used to catch them and I used to watch. And then I had like Gundam toys for a little bit. My dad used to build the models, and I think I had one too, and like that's how I got started. I still build Gundam models now. Um, but yeah, the Gundam and Yuasha, like those I never watched like religiously and all the way through,
Yeah.
but like they were always like I watched a couple of episodes here and there. Um, yeah.
Yeah, those were the shows that like I kind of got into later because like I went back and watched the classes that we grew up like when you would
Mhm.
watch like the Metabots or Fighting Foodons, they were just you may have missed a Saturday or so, but then
Yeah.
I actually watched it through and then that catapulted me into anime. And that's when I was like,
Mhm.
I can tell you animes now, you probably be like, oh, I don't know what that is, or you'll be like, nah, because anime it's funny, and you would understand this. Anime names nowadays are kind of like when you get into harder rock metal music, then the weirder the name, the weirder it gets.
Mhm.
or the obscure it gets. Now, I don't want to say weirder because anime is weird,
Oh,
subjectively,
anime's
but
super weird.
in a great way. But like if I mentioned like Gurren Lagann or Kill a Kill, same by the same company, you'd be like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "Nah," but you can still
You
always
talk
go
about
back.
a weird anime. Kill la Kill is weird.
And that's one of those shows that where it's dope when you're watching it, but then
Yeah,
when the
it's crazy.
scene comes in and the parents walk in, or the fiance, girlfriend, wife walks in, and they're like, "What the hell is this?" And they
Yeah,
talk
like
about
why?
it, they talk
Yeah,
crap about it, but it's like, and then you tell them, "No, it's a dope show." You try to, and you're defending it, but you flub over it because of what's showing right now. You're saying it's philosophical, but then all you
yeah,
see is like boobs and cleavage on TV, and it's
yeah,
like,
and it's like,
but that's their and that's the thing. It's Japanese culture where they always poke fun at it because they always
yeah,
make fun of the boy of being weird, and which we're being weird
mhm.
about it in real life, saying it's just not like that. There were times when I used to watch in my room back in my parents, and then when my mom would walk in, and I would just like either pause it or flip the screen because I'm like, she's not gonna get it. She's gonna look at it and be like, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah. I didn't get adventurous with my animes like until much later. Like,
That puts you on like that Attack on Titan.
yeah, probably like college to be honest, because my initial exposure was either Cartoon Network or
Yeah,
Toonami. I mean, Toonami's on Cartoon Network, but those were my exposures.
Toonami was like the
And
the
that was really
spot.
it. Like, I didn't know where to find this stuff outside of that. Like, I didn't rent it. I didn't buy these things. Like, that's just what my exposure was. And then in high school, maybe like a little bit more, like I saw, but not a lot. And it wasn't until college where you really kind of like exposed me more and I was able to see more that I branched out.
Yeah, and I
One thing
knew
that
that
like and I
yeah,
completely didn't even mention it. One thing that I watched a lot was One Piece when I was a kid. One
yeah.
Piece was on Toonami, and I used to watch it as it came out. I watched all the way through. I mean, looking back on it now, like, yeah, sure, it was like 200 episodes maybe, but I
But
got
they skipped a
I
lot.
don't even know if it was 200
They
episodes.
they cut a lot of episodes and it was heavily edited, so they fused a lot
Yeah.
of episodes together.
I
So
got
they
up to
probably did,
Chopper.
yeah, yeah. They fused a lot of those episodes. They edited a lot,
Yeah, I
and
got up to
when I knew you
Chopper while
watched it, I was
watching
like,
it.
yeah, he needs to join the crew. He needs to watch everything. But
And
there
like,
was one show you didn't mention. I don't know if you remember it. Back it was like on Kids WB, Card Capture Sakura.
no, I don't know that one.
Now, so the show now, like I can't watch it without that theme song. That theme song is fire. I'm gonna send it to you. You're gonna be like, wow. Like that, the opening made me watch the show. It was very different.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really dope. That was one show like I watched every week too.
Like, I always like whenever I found a different anime, I guess, like I got into it, right? Like Digimon, I had the cards, like I had games. Pokemon had the cards, had games. Yu-Gi-Oh had the cards. I didn't really have Yu-Gi-Oh video games, but I had a lot of the cards. And each time, like I always really got into it. Like Dragon Ball Z, like I used to play the fighting games on
Oh
Dragon
yeah,
Ball
the
Z
Budokai and
so much. Yep, Budokai Tenkaichi,
yes,
Tenkaichi Budokai.
yeah.
Like I played all of them. Like from I guess there was a Game Boy one that I played on the GBA, but
All
there
right,
was also like from PlayStation 2 onwards, right? Like I always played um Dragon Ball Z fighting games. And I always like whenever I found one, I always kind of like stuck with it and like got the toys and all that stuff.
yeah.
But I never really went out venturing to find new ones until probably like college. And then like, being surrounded by people that like anime and like go and seek it out, right? Then I started watching like Attack on Titan, My Hero. Um, I
But you
saw
know,
one that I really loved, and it's such a good. It's only one season.
the one I know what
Um,
you're gonna say.
I don't think you do.
I
It's
always
one
forget
season.
I forget the title, but it's something Sakamoto. That's not
Oh shit! Yeah.
yeah. That's
Haven't you heard? I'm
yeah,
Sakamoto.
yeah. Have you tried? Because I always remember
Weird
the
title.
Japanese name
Weird title.
and
But
a weird
oh
show,
my,
but it's like
and a
it's
weird
funny.
show. Very weird. But it was just like a weird slice of life, and all it is just following this one guy who's like a good person, and people in school that are bullies are trying to bully him, and
But
they all become his friend because he's such a good person, and that's it.
that and they think he's really cool.
Yeah,
Like he's
that's
just
it.
super cool. Everything
He,
he does looks ridiculous, but it's
yeah,
cool.
and it's cool,
Yeah,
and he's so confident in everything that he makes it cool,
yeah,
and that's it. He's just a cool guy who's nice, and it's 12 episodes, and that last episode stabbed me through the heart.
Oh man,
If you don't
I have to
have
finish that. I'll
feelings,
start over.
if you don't have feelings at that last episode, you're dead inside. I was like, I was like, like my soul left,
And you
and
see,
oh my, 12 episodes, 12 episodes. You could crush that in like
yeah, you can do
they're
that in a
20
day.
minute episodes,
Yeah, you can do that in a day.
and
Skip,
it
and if you
was
skip the end openings and endings, you can get through it,
yeah, it's
and
yeah,
the little recaps,
2 hours, 2 hours.
literally. But
It's
and
just
that's like
crazy.
going back to like you the way you're saying like how you're getting all these. The good thing is because mind you, I had to like mine these animes, and then they were given to us
Yeah,
via because and not only that, when Netflix was the only streaming service, kind of like before Hulu, and then when Hulu started peppering it in, I would who Netflix had not like nothing, and they had some random obscure ones. Ooh, one that hits me through the heart, Punk. Uh, what's the name of this anime? I'm always forgetting. Desert Punk, one of my favorite animes. Everything like that, I would like it on because Netflix give you the option to like it. Any anime I
yeah,
saw, even if I didn't watch it, I'd like it. So like, Netflix knew that people were like, "Oh, they're into anime." So I was
yeah.
trying
You
to
were
mess
doing
them up.
like your own
Yeah,
vote,
I'm one
so like yeah,
person, but like whenever
yeah.
I went to people's houses, I would like all the anime, and because the algorithm wasn't as strong, or what's the word, whatever the word is,
It's
it
like
wasn't
sophisticated or
sophisticated.
yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't as sophisticated to be like, oh, this person likes anime. It was sophisticated enough to say anime is something that people want. So I
yeah,
wouldn't mess someone's queue up. Like if I went to
yeah.
your
It wouldn't
house and
yeah, it
there,
wouldn't just be like,
it
oh,
would have
you
like,
want all this, and it's
yeah.
yeah.
Now if you do that, you watch one episode of something, it's like, hey, I see you
Oh
watch
yeah,
this.
you
It
yeah,
pops in.
you must love this.
But yeah, like now that you're exposed, because any you can go to because what do you have? And you have HBO Max, anime is there. Sony just got Crunchyroll, which is gonna be which is under Funimation. They're gonna fuse that. Like it's everywhere now. But yeah, like it's dope that anime is more popular. Like I said, like my fiance, she works in with Girls Inc. The kids that she talks, they talk about, and they're all girls. They all talk about is anime. That's cool because back in the day, they'll look at you like you're a weirdo. Like why are you saying these words? Why are you saying these weird words? They're not even Japanese. They're weird words. Why are you saying these weird things?
And you know what? Going back to what I said, I think 2 episodes ago, when I was talking about my wife getting to see the majestic movie
Yeah,
that was
I
Shang
know it.
Chi, these kids
They
they
never
didn't earn it. They didn't
it
earn it. They
handed to
didn't earn
them.
this. They got handed. You
Like you just hear
know
my story.
the names and the name calling and the like getting called weird and being a social outcast because you liked this
Japanophile.
thing and like that they didn't understand.
We made it cool.
Yeah, like you know what I mean? Like growing up, we were the last I truly believe that this like our
Our
generation, right?
generation, yeah,
We're the last ones to get bullied.
yeah,
Like
or made
because
fun of.
or made fun of because I look even 5 years later, my younger sister, her class, right? They were all friends.
Hmm.
All of them, all 20 something of them were friends. And most of them to this day, my sister's now 22. She was going to school with these kids from when she was 5
Hmm.
up until she was
Like
like
before they
15
moved, yeah.
or 16, 16.
Uh-huh.
So she was going to school with these kids for about a decade. And a lot of them are still in contact today. They were all friends. When I went to school, you had like well, me, I had like 4 friends and everyone else hated us.
Oh wow.
Like
Yeah, I would say the same thing too. I would say the same thing too.
like everyone else thought we were weird.
Yeah, I always
That was it.
we talked about anime.
Yeah, we talked about stuff that we
Talked about
liked
comic
and
books.
yeah, comic books, anime, cartoons. Like
And you know
and
what's
because
funny?
we weren't like I don't know, cool enough
Or
and I guess
or
having sex in
mature.
6th grade, like we were just seen as like little kids and like weird and like, "Oh, why do you like that? It's
I
baby stuff."
remember,
It's like
yeah, it's funny. Like you're a kid, you're like, oh, that's cool. You get to high school, you're a loser, and then you're 30. Oh, you still like that? That's cool. Like it's a
yep.
weird transition. I remember I remember vividly. You know the Batman show, the Batman. Like it
Yeah.
was the same animation as Jackie Chan Adventures.
Mhm.
So I remember I saw season one, and then they made the trailer for season two because I was always hyped for the fall season of cartoons, and then they showed Batgirl, and I was like, and I was tight. I remember in sixth grade classroom, I was just like, why are they showing Batgirl? Like she doesn't come first. I was just so like, it's supposed to be Robin, Dick Grayson becoming, becoming Robin. He's supposed to be the first, he's Batman's ward. And then I remember this kid, like I think it was the first time I
Batman's
met him,
Ward.
because like new kids come in. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't think I said those words, but I'm just coming up to me right. But he was like,
I hope you did.
I wish, right? They're like, what is that? But yeah. And then he was like, what are you, a baby? And I was like, no. He's like, well, you still a kid? You still watch those? And I was like, nah. I thought it was weird that they didn't follow this structure. And I just like it felt I was embarrassed because
Yeah.
we're both the same height. He's like, yo, you should be tall. Yo, we're tall. We're attractive. And at the time, I didn't think I was attractive. I was like, ill. I'm like, I don't. We're both the same. We're the tallest in our class.
Mhm.
Like we should be talking to girls. I'm like, we're in sixth grade. I didn't. I was
It's like I like cartoons though.
like, I feel like cartoons. And then the only reason I got cool with him was the year later we were in the same basketball team. But then I was like,
Mm.
and I didn't think that was gonna make me cool. But even if I wanted that to be myself to be cool, not to get off tangent here, but it really didn't. I still liked my animes. I still liked, yeah, like no, and no one made fun of me though. I guess that was its perk. No one made fun of me for liking anime and comics. But I
Yeah,
remember,
man,
yeah,
these kids these days,
they
like they
just
got it too
they
good.
take it for
Everyone
granted.
loves anime. Everyone has an anime that they've
It's the
heard
same
of,
thing with the
like.
MCU. Like everyone's like, "Oh, I love Iron Man. Why do you love Iron Man? Because Tony Robert Downey Jr. Blah blah blah." I'm like, no, we
That's
had
when I'm
the
like no.
we spit on you, stupid American.
Yeah.
We saw the Iron Man cartoon on Channel Five, and then got into the books. But yeah, it was. But anime, like, but you know what it is? I'm gonna say anime held it down for me. Like it held it down. Like when I needed place to go, that's where I went. Like, that was my
Yeah.
escape. And I learned a lot. Like like my parents being, I'm firstborn here. My parents, like, yeah, I had my parents, but
Yeah.
like I learned a lot from anime, and especially its philosophy. Like I learned a
Mhm.
lot from it, and it's just like you can't take that away
That
from me.
that's one thing that like Western cartoons are really slow at. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, they've been doing better, like especially
lately.
recently, but
Yeah,
it's the philosophy. I feel like anime has always had that elevated kind of thought process when it comes to stories, and
yeah,
it's very like as weird as it can get and as silly. It's very human.
yeah, and
Like
especially
it's
geared
down
for
to earth
boys.
when the
Yeah.
human emotions are involved.
Yeah, like I remember reading like Akira Toriyama about Dragon Ball. He's like he made it because boys are interested in fighting, but like that's Dragon Ball. But that was what catapulted us into the anime world. So when you're a kid watching all these, it's geared for teenagers. Imagine these teenage kids growing up learning these things. I'm not saying they're all going to be non-delinquents, but like I'm pretty sure there'll be a lot. It keeps them out of trouble. And even for me, like now when we were watching cartoons back then, like they were silly. You got the Dexter's Laboratory. Like I don't think I really learned anything. I just laughed a lot. The Ed and Eddie.
Yeah, those were
You
more
got
so to just like
you
turn
got
your brain off.
yeah. You threw a Adventure Time back in the day when it came to a dad abandoning his kid. You wouldn't see that back in the day.
No.
Like yeah, anime is weird, but it still held its value. And people think they go back to saying, "Why are you watching those cartoons?" My dad was the same way. Why are you watching? I'm like, it's not like, and I'd even say I never got mad at people saying it's not a cartoon, it's anime. I said it's not just a cartoon because it is drawn, it is animated, but I'm like, there are shows that are on the same level as Game of Thrones, but you would choose Game of Thrones because it's live.
Yeah, because it's live
And
action.
it's a live action, but you're thinking because it's cartoon, like shows like Attack on Titan, that is heavy. Literally, the first episode is heavy, but you can't take it because
It's
it's a cartoon,
animated.
it's
Yeah.
animated, and it's like you can't. Some people like I would have Gabby. She can't stand the fact that the anime is on, even if it's not in Japanese. Some people just can't watch it.
Yeah.
I know one of our
Yeah.
best friends
Erica's the
the same
same
way.
way. Like she
Yeah,
just is not about animation, and
yeah,
unless it's like Disney cartoon or something,
yeah. That or
she's
like Spider Verse.
no, not even. I
Oh, not even
To get
that.
Erica to watch an animated thing is I don't think we've ever even done it outside of like Disney stuff,
Mm,
because she sees it so much as like a dorky kid thing. You
mm,
know, like Avatar is something that I really want to show her, but she can't get past the animation aspect.
mm.
She just thinks it's kiddie, you know, and
I
it's
would, and that's a good place to start too. Like I
yeah, and talk about like some
I had
serious
Gabby,
stuff.
yeah, I had Gabby watch Avatar and then watch Legend of Korra. Like she enjoyed
Yeah.
it. Like there were times I was like I was happy she was watching it because like
Hmm.
I know she's aware of the themes.
Yeah.
Like I remember she was like, and for all the listeners, if you haven't seen it, stop listening, go and then come back. Like wow, the Earthbenders being
Hmm.
subjected to basically slavery on the Fire Nation, and it's crazy. But obviously, they're not going to say slavery, but we see what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like obviously it's made for children entertainment,
exactly,
but as an adult, you can really appreciate
it
the
holds up.
lessons that it's instilling, because it's teaching kids lessons without having to shove it down their throat,
Yeah,
right?
it's like
And
don't
as
be
a
bad to someone's that's different.
and
Literally.
as an adult, you see it and you're like, wow, like this is good storytelling, and it holds up. Like not only does the animation hold up, but the philosophy behind it. A lot of it is just about, and I feel like this is a theme in most animes. It's about being a good person.
Yeah,
Like the protags, right? The protagonist always, it's like they don't care what you look like, who you are. It's about being good to each other and like forming a bond. That's
yeah.
typically what most animes are about.
What life is, and then when
Yeah.
things get hard, it sucks, and we're there. Like life is gonna get hard. Pick yourself back up. Keep going. You
Yeah,
got
and
friends. You got people.
it's just yeah, it's just it's hard to explain to those that didn't grow up on,
Yeah,
you know, animation, because there'll be that stigma forever that it's, you know, for younger people. But, you know, even stuff like Pokemon, right?
yeah.
Like when Ash lets go of Butterfree so
Oh
that he can
God,
live a better life,
that is
to this day, that is gut wrenching.
that and the Pikachu in the movie when Pikachu's slapping or crying over a stone hat.
Yeah,
I was
just
like,
to try and wake him up,
yeah.
dude.
Or when
It's
the two
gut
Pikachus are
wrenching,
slapping each other, it's ugh.
gut wrenching, because
But
it's so there's so much emotion put into those things. Like,
passionate.
yes, it's a show for kids, but any human being can relate to the themes. Any human being, if they take the time, can truly find the merit in this.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think this is a great thing. It's not anime, but it's foreign media. We finished Squid Games the other day, me and Erica.
Yes, I need to finish. I saw the first episode, but go ahead.
Great show. It's a Korean made show. Erica typically is not one for like,
Foreign.
I guess, different like medias. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like stuff that's not very
from
much like
America.
her forte.
Oh, okay, I see
So
what you're saying.
yeah, it's hard for her to kind of like branch out to newer stuff.
Yeah,
But this was the thing, you know, it was everywhere. Even her fourth grade kids were talking about it, even though it's
yeah,
not a show for
it's
fourth
crazy.
graders.
Yeah, and same for Gabby's kids. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
why?
So they were talking about it, and like she was like, "Oh, I don't want anything spoiled for me." She had such a good time with it, and the writing there was fantastic. And I remember like we were, I don't think it was at the end, but it was like episode 6 or 7. She was talking about it, and I was like, "There's so much I want to show you." I was like, "There's so many good animes that are
Yeah.
just like this." I
And
was
I
like,
even said, yeah, I said that to Gabby because Gabby's not gonna watch it. We watched the first episode because
"Mhm,
for her, there's certain things that are gory, but that bothers me because I think she didn't
mhm."
like the way the first episode was executed. But I'm like,
It's rough.
it is, but I'm like, she's watched shows like Sons of Anarchy and Breaking Bad, even though they're not as gory
Yeah,
and like abrupt as the first episode of Squid Games. But it's like if you turn that Squid Games into it's an anime. If you
yeah,
literally animate it, you know how many people would not watch that show if it was anime?
yeah.
Which is that is
It
crazy.
probably wouldn't be as
That's
popular
big.
if it was
Yeah.
animated,
So
but it can so easily be an anime.
exactly.
Like,
I was watching, I'm like, this is an anime.
yeah,
But yeah, it's crazy. Um but yeah, and Gabby as well. Like I don't try to force her to watch anime. I just like, hey, you want
yeah,
to watch this? Like I try to stick to the serious shows. Like I put her on Avatar. She dug it.
mhm,
I wanted to see like I had shown her the first episode of Cowboy Bebop. No, it's not heavy. It's not obviously not realistic, but it's not like kiddie. It's not like as goofy as like One Piece or
Mhm.
what's another? Yeah, another show like One Punch Man. I'm not gonna throw her into that.
Yeah.
Like, just be like, okay, like here's this, and then just enjoy it. And I'll watch it with you. Like that could be our thing. I'm not gonna put you on some crazy Gurren Lagann kill. Like I'm not gonna go into all that or whatever. But
You don't wanna show her any of the JoJo's or anything like that?
like JoJo's Bizarre, I don't even
Yeah.
remember that.
I
But
really wanna watch them, and I just haven't. I think they're on Funimation.
yeah, they're everywhere now. So
I really wanna watch them, though.
yeah, but the thing is, yeah, one anime is weird. It's good. You'll learn things. Talk to a friend. You know a friend that likes anime. If they're
Everyone
really
does.
weird about it, talk to us. Go on our Instagram. We'll DM you.
Just DM us or comment, talk about anime. We'll talk back.
Yeah,
We like
we'll
anime.
talk back. Yeah, we won't.
And I
We'll
guess that's a
guide you.
great way to that's a great way to plug our stuff. I feel like we never plug our I mean, I don't know how many of you are listening or watching that don't already follow us on
Yeah, we
Instagram,
have. I know we have a lot of like foreign people too, but
but we do have an Instagram. It is the Average J's podcast.
yeah,
So
check us out. Leave comments, ask questions
yeah, DM us, have fun. We're there to talk. We'll hang out with you
virtually.
virtually. Yeah.
We're still in the pandemic, guys.
So talking about hanging out and talking about non-virtual hangouts, let's switch it up.
Oh, we did that so good. If you guys were watching, we like,
This will be on the YouTube
yeah,
video. Not
go
this is
watch
a
on.
reason. Go check it on YouTube. Average J podcast on YouTube. We just did an amazing thing. So
Yeah,
anyway, and you have to watch the whole thing all the way through to get to there. You can't fast forward and go see
yeah,
it
watch
because
the
it
whole
won't
thing.
show up. So
That's how they explain.
anyway, final topic of the day: Comic Con was this
Yeah,
weekend.
New York
New
Comic
York
Con.
Comic Con specifically.
Did you go this year? No, because you're in
I
Florida.
live in Florida, so
Yeah.
no,
Did I go this year? No.
no.
Reason being, because I've accomplished my dream.
So you never have to go again.
I never have to go again. I'll go
So for those that don't
probably.
know, what was your dream?
Yeah. So, well, the first time I went was back in high school because it was like that was the thing. High school and you meeting friends like, hey, have you been to Comic Con? At the time, it wasn't that strict, so someone could just give you their card, which was dope. Nowadays, you have to get a card which is tied to your ID. But the cool thing is, I'm cool, so I still get emails from Comic Con saying, "Do you want to come?" So I'm like first in the queue because I'm still registered. But anyway, back in college, and Justin knows the story because I was depressed for a week back in college, I was like, oh, Stan Lee's gonna be there. So I went, I went over there, got my comic book, I got my Funko Pop. I bought my Funko Pop. It was the last one, supposedly. And then I didn't have enough cash. So went to the ATM machine because I was online for Stan Lee, but people were like, you gotta pay for the autograph. I was like, that's not good. So I went, it was a long line for the ATM machine. By the time I got the cash, it was like $70 at the time. Came back, Stanley was gone. The guy was like, "Yeah, Stanley's gone," and I was like, "But I know he's behind that door." He's like, "Nah, that's it, man." I'm like, "He's behind that door. There's no other exits. He's there." And they're like, "Nah, just next time, man." Next time is a year. He didn't show up next year, so I just felt like he was never gonna come back. When I saw the calling sign, I was like, "Nope, $1,000 in my pocket, cash." Brought my Funko Pop, brought one of my books that he co-wrote with Chris Claremont. Was X-Men Gold. Went over there. First thing I did was go to that line. Long line. But I was like up in the first echelon of lines.
hmm
Got up to him, put my Funko Pop and my comic
Sign
down.
this.
No words were exchanged. That was the thing. No words were exchanged.
You're just there.
Yeah, I would not even. I was just like, and I just mentally shot out a message like, "Thank you for everything." And he finished signing and looked up to me. I didn't want to say anything. So I didn't like. I met my hero, and that was it. And I to this day sometimes I regret not saying anything because I'm like, damn, I don't just want to think I'm some random fan, random floozy, you know. But then there was one night I had a dream that we just had a epic my dinner with Andre's to conversation, and it was great. I don't remember the conversation, but I know it was great, and I know that he wants me to keep going, and I was just like, and
Yeah,
I finally got it signed, and I was like, what's the point of me coming back here?
that's a story I will forever be jealous about because I unfortunately never got to meet the man behind the legends, but that's so awesome. Like every time I hear it, it's so cool. Um, but yeah, man, Comic Con. You kind of talked, you touched on it before back in like high school. It was just the thing. You just went, and I remember I went a couple of times in high school, and bro, you could just walk in and get a ticket.
Yeah,
Like it was before there was lines out the door. Like you literally just you went into the big table, and if you had a ticket, you signed in, got your pass, or you just spent like $40 and got a pass for the day.
yeah.
Forget about that now.
Yeah,
Like,
even well now because now we didn't have it last year. This year, like so, my cousin went Saturday and Thursday because they don't have weekend passes anymore because of the pandemic or because of
mm,
the COVID. When
but
he
you could still
showed,
go every day.
you can still, but you would have to buy for each day,
That's so
so that's
ridiculous.
more money. But the
Yeah,
crazy thing, from the pictures that he sent, like I could see in the background from images I've seen online, it's dead. Like
really.
there's people there. There's like a lot of
Mm,
people there, but it's not as dense as it used to be. Which I
mm,
guess was cool. Like I would have loved to go to this one because I'm like, to me, I'm very weird when it comes to too many people in one place. And this is not
mm.
even because of COVID. This is just me as a person.
Yeah, personal
Um,
preference.
so yeah, like I can actually go through like places without like knocking on my poster. Like I'd be nervous because people would rip my poster by accident or something like that. I wish I could have gone now, but um, that just thinking about it is like it was fun. It was fun. I loved going at points in time. I went after um I got my thing signed. Um, I went one time after, and it was cool. Like I just didn't when I went that one time after. I was like, what else is there for me to do? I can buy stuff, and I'm like, I can always buy stuff on the internet.
Yeah.
But it was just cool to see these people dressed up. That was the thing. It was cool to see people
Yeah,
dressed up.
that's always the coolest part. Like on the internet, like I follow, like video game or comic people and stuff, and like their cosplays are always really really cool.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, my best I haven't been to Comic Con in years, but some of my best memories were just going in and like when it used to be like not like a billion people packed in, right?
Mm,
And you could just go to different stalls and buy something, right? Like I remember I would just go into like whatever store or vendor had their stuff set up, and I would browse the bargain bins,
mm,
and I remember I got, and I will never forget it. I'm gonna reenact it real quick.
mhm.
So I'm going through the different ones, right?
Got
And
it.
then out of nowhere, I see it, and I go, it's right there, sticking up, and I just go, mint, mint condition. I still have it. It's packaged up. Spider-Man versus Wolverine.
Beast.
My cousin was like, "Damn." There was no other ones. It was just that one. My cousin was with me, and he was like, "If I would have saw that, I would have picked it up first." And I was like,
But you did.
"Sucks to suck, man."
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
But it's like stuff like that, right? Like I was able to just go. I bought posters while I was there. I was able to go. I remember, like, yeah, there was lines for stuff. Obviously, if you want to get stuff signed, or like down the artist alley, or
Yeah.
if you wanted to go be a part of one of the conferences. But it was like attainable.
Mm,
Like it wasn't like a ridiculous thing because I remember we went to a and like I always remember like G4 had a thing there.
yeah.
Um, I went to a Star Wars panel and it was all about the Clone Wars. It was while it was still going on, and it was like season 2 or 3. It was still really early
Yeah.
on, and we just went to the panel. It was full. Like there was people there, but we
It
were
was
able to
as
get in
packed. Yeah.
without an issue. And then there was another time where I was with my cousin and we saw the preview to the Wolverine game. It was
Mm.
like behind closed. It wasn't like closed doors, I guess per se, but it was an
Like a first,
exhibit.
yeah. First come,
Yeah,
first
and it took
serve.
place in like a bunker that they had made
Nice.
on the floor. So it was a line. So every like I don't know, like 20, 30 people at a time would go in and watch this thing. And when you were done, you got a Wolverine foam claw. It was like
Nice.
foam finger Wolverine claw. And we went in and then they do a playthrough of the game and you got to watch it like the first level or whatever, and you got to see like
That game was
all
great.
the yeah, that game was fantastic. And you get to see all the damage that happens to him, and It was really cool. But that stuff was just like, you went early in the day, you spent your whole day there, you spent a bunch of money, you found like geeky stuff, and then you went home.
I
Like,
think yeah, like the best thing about that too was really cool. The free stuff. Like the first time I had no money,
oh
I
my
came out
gosh,
with
yeah.
mad stuff, and I was like, why do I have so much shit? And I
There
was
was
like,
so much. I had the first time I went, I think I had two separate bags of just free stuff.
it was great.
Yeah.
I was like, you don't have to go. Well, you should go with
Because
friends.
even like the little indie comics and stuff, like they would just give you free copies.
Yeah, yeah, like those. Let's say almost like free comic book day, but like within
Yeah.
the panels or stalls.
But yeah, it was just like people just trying to get their stuff out. They would just give free copies.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was awesome.
it was.
But now everyone's into comics and everyone's into
And it's not even
superheroes.
about comics anymore, too. So like, I
It's all
remember
about the
they had
movies.
the New York. They made the New York special edition, which strictly was about comics, which I like.
Yeah.
I wish I went to that, but they don't do that anymore. But because of the pandemic too, now there's like companies are doing their own conventions or their own
Yeah.
fandoms. Like DC's fandom is in a couple days, in about a week. What's another one that did something like that? There was another company that did something similar. They just had their own convention like digitally because fandom is all online.
Yeah.
Um, I think
I mean, if you look towards like video games too, right? Like
yeah,
Sony,
yeah.
Sony has their own press
E
conferences.
three didn't
Nintendo.
happen. Yeah, E3 didn't happen, or did it? No, E3 did happen. Not the year before though. E3
Yeah.
happened, but not the year before. But that's
I haven't even followed. I haven't followed E3 in like 3 or 4 years
yeah,
at this
yeah. I
point.
haven't really followed it as much either. I'm just like I
Because like
just
I'll
know,
just watch the Sony like showcase or whatever, and then the Nintendo Directs
yeah,
or the Treehouse when they have their
yeah.
stuff. So that's it.
But yeah, I think Comic Con was cool at some point. Like I think everyone should go at least once.
Yeah, like it's fun for sure. Like the in person stuff, I think is a lot of fun. But it's now it's so weird. Like it's like it's such a process to even get in the door.
Yeah, like I think because yeah, like I said, I for me I had a goal. And then like I
Yeah.
had another because the day I didn't, or that the one time I went and didn't get Stanley's signature, I was like, oh, I can go because I wanted to meet Scott Snyder because I brought my
Mhm.
comic that he wrote. It was during the Endgame arc, and I missed him by like 10 minutes, and I was like, I'm not getting anything signed today, and I was like, but at least I knew like if I do it next year, I'm gonna meet this person. But like
Yeah.
the only time I'll go back to Comic Con is for Scott Snyder for that specific reason because
Mm.
he did sign one of my comic books that I gave to a friend because he was doing a Q&A at Barnes and Noble, and it said like good luck with your comic endeavors. So I was like, I saw that, or I have that comic book, so I want to go back and show it to him. I'm like, yo, you signed this, can you sign this, and then tell him about my project. Like I want to talk to him because he's like a professor, and I'm like, I wish he was like
Mhm.
one of my teachers, kind of a thing.
Mhm.
Because he told my friend like, the comic industry needs more younger writers because it's a lot of old heads. It's
Yeah.
most companies, most businesses and stuff like that. It's just old people, older people. I don't say old people, older people,
Yeah.
and there's still no, like we talked about this back in, I believe, in our first episode. There's just no way in to comics unless you do writing, unless you're a journalist, or unless you do these things with the big wigs, if you would say. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
why
I
we
think
going back to Comic Con.
the next time, like, I mean, I wouldn't mind going or whatever. And they have in Orlando over here, they have MegaCon, which is like, from what I've seen, I've never gone. I want to go really bad, but from what I've seen, it's like Comic Con on steroids. And there's
Really?
so many. Like, that's a really big. From what I've gathered, it's a really good. It's a really big cosplayer
Okay.
like thing. So like they have vendors and booths, conferences, and all that, but it's like a really big showcase for people to come in and just like blow you away with like their different costumes. But I would love to go and check it out. It's huge. Also, it's like I mean I could be gassing it, but I think it's like double the size of the Javits Center.
Oh
It's in
wow.
the biggest.
I
It's in the
wouldn't be
biggest
surprised
like
though, because Florida.
it's yeah the convention center that it takes place in is like I think 4 miles long. It's huge. It's the
Mhm.
biggest convention center I think in the US, definitely
Oh
the East
wow.
Coast.
Wow.
It's massive, yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
assume they have that large real estate because in New York, it's like you have that,
no.
and everyone's always packed in there.
But it's huge and I mean cool stuff happens there and like, I follow it on social media and every year when it happens, I see some stuff and it's not super expensive either. So at some point I'll go, but I think like honestly speaking I would love to do something like this at a Comic Con. Like I don't really want to do like I don't think I have any drive to go back and like do the whole like buying stuff and
Yeah,
listening to things. You know, I would want to participate in it.
yeah,
Like I would like to do a show or an interview or something like that. I know that's it could be very far off, but
yeah.
that's what I would want to
I,
do
I
there.
I agree with you. I was thinking about that too. Like even so this is kind of like a spoiler, but kind of like jumping the gun when it comes to my project. There
Yeah.
is a company out there. I'm not gonna say it because I don't want to spoil anything or ruin anything, but that's probably want to publish my book, and I'm just like, oh, and I see them on they're at Comic Con,
Yeah.
and I even put on their thing because they follow me back. I'm like, I can't wait to like be there one day because I would like to be behind the table.
Yeah.
And like Gabby was telling me, like, why didn't you just try to like go and get your own booth? I'm like, yeah, that costs money, and I would have to like I'll be the only thing. Like I have no way of getting people there. But then people are always passing by. They're like, oh, what's this? And they'll want to pick it up.
Yeah.
But if I have the backing of a publishing company, like that'd be dope too. But that reminds me, there was like a little small convention, I think, with the when it comes to the arts that
Yeah.
was in Brooklyn, but unfortunately, I worked that day. But I wish I had known before. I would have made time for it. I could have went there, and but I agree. I don't want to be that person that's just always going because we've done it. Um, I want to be like we want to go and just like maybe cosplay. Like I did like a basic cosplay. I went as Superman, but like as Clark Kent with the Superman shirt under because I
Mhm.
didn't. I don't want to be all covered in costume. But then I can interview someone. Be like, hey, well, blah blah blah, and then put that in our sound bites or something like that.
Yeah, I would love to. I would. That's what I would do it for. I would do it to interview people.
Yeah. Because that would be dope. We
Like,
could have a whole episode on Comic Con.
yeah, like I wouldn't want to do it just as an attendee, right?
Yeah, when that cloud comes in, we just go to San Diego. Just like
Facts.
ain't no chicken wang, ain't no thing
Yeah,
like a chicken wang. I said ain't no
yeah.
chicken wang,
That clout ain't no chicken wing. Only legs, no chicken wing.
no thighs.
No thighs, straight up wings, all day, every day. Chicken wings.
So done.
All right. Well, I think with that majestic quote, I think we can wrap it up here. So,
That's gonna be one of our merch.
yep.
That's gonna be
It's just gonna be only chicken wings, and
only chicken wing. Ain't
it's
no
gonna be a
wang.
chicken with no legs flapping.
That's gonna be hilarious.
So, signing off for today's episode. This is Jay Justin Ruiz.
And this is Jay, Jeremy Francois.
All right. See you guys on the next one. Be good. Love each other. Have fun.
Stay positive.